Chapter 2357. It wasn't that Lingshan hadn't thought about asking Linny for help, but Linny had gone out a while ago, and she knew about it from Xinyan's case. That was why she didn't contact Linny. Now that Linny was back, naturally, she wouldn't let him go. She'd been worrying about the case recently, so why wouldn't she ask Linny about it? Linny. Lingshan walked over quickly. Linny rubbed his nose and smiled bitterly. It seemed that the more he didn't want to be a busybody, the busybodies found their way to him, and he had no choice but to do it. Lingshan, what a coincidence, Linny said helplessly. Coincidence? You didn't contact me when you came back? Lingshan wasn't very happy, especially when she saw Linny bringing the miss and Shu out shopping. I didn't have the time, but I was going to contact you. Linny wasn't lying to Lingshan. He had a qi-gathering pill in his hand, and he wanted to give one to Lingshan. He couldn't just give Chintian everything and not Lingshan. Really? Lingshan looked at the miss and Shu, noticing that they weren't hostile. Her relationship with Mingyao and Yushu had improved quite a bit, and they weren't as bad as before. Really? Linny nodded. But you should get back to business first. Lingshan nodded and asked, do you have any suspects? I just came back, and it's only the third day. Where would I get a suspect? Linny smiled bitterly. I see. Lingshan sighed, a little disappointed, but she knew that it was reasonable. After all, Linny had just come back, and he didn't know much about the situation. She didn't ask, all right, you guys go shopping first. We'll talk later. Yeah, go do what you need to do. Linny nodded before leaving with Mingyao and Yushu. Lingshan was a little disappointed, but she still went through the notes patiently. After that, the documents of the hostages were sent to her. Lei Xiling was the daughter of Lei Daming, the president of the Donghai Chamber of Commerce. She was a fourth-year student at the Business College of Donghai Foreign Studies. She drove an Audi TT sports car, and was probably here to shop. Lingshan's heart skipped a beat. Another student? Moreover, it was the daughter of a wealthy businessman. This was similar to the previous cases. It seemed that the other party was after money. Lingshan had no choice but to contact Lei Daming. Lei Daming was hiding in the Zhao family and packing his luggage. He was ready to go to Jiduan City to start a new business career. Suddenly his mobile phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, I'm Lei Daming. Lei Daming didn't dare to refuse. He was afraid that it was Lin Yi. Lei Daming? I'm Song Lingshan from Donghai's criminal investigation team. Your daughter was just kidnapped on the commercial street. Can you come to Songshan's police station? Lingshan asked. What? My daughter was kidnapped? Lei Daming froze. He didn't dare believe it. Although Lei Daming knew about the kidnapping cases in Donghai, he never thought that someone would dare kidnap his daughter. After all, his identity was there. Of course, it wasn't the president of the Donghai Chamber of Commerce, but the representative of the hidden house Zhao. After all, the kidnappers dared to kidnap the daughter of a mafia boss. Naturally, they wouldn't be afraid of him, the president of a chamber of commerce. However, he didn't believe that anyone would dare to mess with the hidden house Zhao. His identity and background weren't a secret, and the kidnappers would naturally investigate his background before kidnapping him. Yes, it should be done by the same group of suspects as the previous kidnapping cases. That's why I need you to come. Lingshan said. Wait, I'll be right there. Lei Daming was troubled. He had just lost his power, and his daughter was kidnapped. This was too much of a scam. It was really an unlucky year. However, before Lei Daming could drive to the Donghai police station, the kidnapper's phone call came first. Lei Daming. A voice changer came from the other side of the phone. You. Who are you? Lei Daming was shocked. He could vaguely guess what was going on. Prepare 20 million, or don't blame us. The person said coldly. Don't doubt our reputation. You should have heard of the previous kidnapping cases. Of course, if you don't cooperate, we'll kill you. Wait. I don't have 20 million. Lei Daming said bitterly. You don't? You're the president of Donghai Chamber of Commerce, and you have so many businesses under you. You don't even have 20 million? Who are you kidding? The person heard Lei Daming's words and became impatient. He humphed coldly. If you don't want anything to happen, hand over the money. Don't think that I don't know your background. You're a dog of the hidden house Zhao? How could you not have 20 million? Lei Daming didn't expect them to find out about his hidden identity. It seemed that the kidnappers didn't care about his identity at all. However, he wanted to cry. I'm no longer the president of Donghai Chamber of Commerce. I've been fired. The hidden house Zhao doesn't need me anymore. I don't have any money now. I don't care. Release her when you see the money. Kill her within 24 hours. The person humphed coldly and hung up. Lei Daming didn't know what to do. He wanted to ask for help from the hidden house Zhao, but he remembered that he'd offended Linny before. The hidden house Zhao probably wouldn't help him, and it was obvious that the kidnappers weren't afraid of the hidden house Zhao. Thinking back to how the gambling bro's daughter's golden class bodyguard was crippled in one hit, it seemed that the kidnappers were quite powerful. But no matter what, Lei Daming still headed to the police station first. On the way, he thought about how he should ask the hidden house Zhao for help. After parting ways with Lingshan, Linny brought Mingyao and Yushu to a shopping mall nearby. They shopped for the whole morning, but didn't buy anything. The three of them had lunch at a restaurant in the mall. Mingyao was drinking her soup after dinner, while Yushu was looking at Linny with those big eyes of hers, as if she wanted to say something, but didn't know what to say. What do you want? Linny asked. I heard that there's a casino in the basement of this mall. I've never been to a casino before. Shield bro, can you bring me and Yao Yao to see it? Yushu said pitifully. Casino? Linny blinked. He didn't expect there to be a casino in the basement of this mall. Chapter 2359. Compared to the stuffy atmosphere in the warehouse, the central air conditioning here was very comfortable, and the waiters in red uniforms were warm and attentive, welcoming every guest. The dealer in green uniform walked back and forth in the casino. It was very lively. The scale of this place surprised Linny. Because of his previous missions, Linny had been to many casinos, but the scale of the casino here was definitely not small. Although it wasn't comparable to casinos like Macau and Las Vegas, it was still one of the best in the underground casinos. 3 distinguished guests, please exchange your chips over here. The man in the black suit gestured, indicating that Linny and the others could exchange their chips at the bar. Okay. Linny nodded and said, thank you. I wish the 3 of you have a good time, and a fruitful return. The man in the black suit smiled slightly, and went back to his own business. Of course, the fruitful return he said was just for show. There were very few people who actually won money in the casino, almost none. Don't exchange too much, just play around, Linny said to Yushu. Oh, then let's exchange for 100,000. Yushu thought about it and said. Linny nodded. Although 100,000 wasn't a small amount, it was really nothing to Mingyao and Linny. Pengzhan gave them more than this amount of pocket money every month. Yushu went to the bar to exchange chips, and came back with a big pile of chips worth 1,000. She was a little excited. Yao Yao sis shield bro, what do you want to play? I don't want to play. Linny knew that gambling was a scam. He had no interest in gambling at all. You play, I'll just watch. I don't know how to play. Mingyao had never touched these things before. She came here only out of curiosity, no other intentions. Okay. Yushu didn't hold back. She looked around the entertainment facilities on the first floor and said, let's go play slot machines. This is easy and fun. The full name of the slot machine was the slot machine. It was a kind of gambling machine that could often be seen in casinos. There were even entertainment places that specialized in playing corner machines. It was very common. It could be said that almost every casino had this kind of machine. The gameplay was also very simple. You just had to put the pieces, chips, into the machine, and then different patterns would randomly appear. If the time stopped, and if the same or specific patterns appeared, you would win based on the odds. This machine, it was also called the fruit machine, or the 777, and was popular among gamblers because of its simplicity. Yushu didn't know much about other machines, and so naturally, she'd locked onto this machine first. Then let's go take a look. Linny and Mingyao followed Yushu to a wall full of slot machines. There were a lot of people here, but there were still some empty slots. Yushu found a random machine and started operating it. This thing was easy to learn, and even newbies could play with it. Yushu played with it for a while. After losing a few thousand yuan in chips, she learned how to operate it. Of course, you could also ask the dealer for help, but Yushu preferred to do her own research. Mengyao was just looking at the novelty, and Lenny had nothing to do. He had to admit that the scale of the place was on point, and it didn't look like those simple and crude underground casinos at all. From the number of security guards, the service of the waiters, and the level of professionalism of the dealer, one could tell that the employees in this casino had definitely gone to a proper casino for training. To be able to open a casino like this, the identity of the owner was definitely not simple. He was probably some big boss of Donghai's underworld, but Lenny didn't want to cause trouble. When it came to gambling, one was willing to fight, and the other was willing to suffer. As long as they didn't cheat, Lenny didn't want to be Spider-Man. Yushu played for a while, and there were wins and losses. But at this time, Yushu's intelligence and ability to discover Shu stood out. She started researching the rules of the slot machines. In fact, as long as it was a computer-controlled gambling machine, there would always be a certain rule, but this rule was something normal people wouldn't be able to discover. Guanyin walked into this dilapidated old residential area and couldn't help but frown. If it wasn't for his father, he would never come to a place like this. However, he only felt disgust, not guilt at all. Chun Shi and her daughter were like strangers in his eyes, and their life and death had nothing to do with him. The Hidden House Zhao was an extremely patriarchal family. This was why Zhao Qibing, an illegitimate son, was able to rise to the top, and Chun Shi was reduced to a furnace for gifts. Knock knock knock. Guanyin knocked on the broken security door, and the rotten smell in the corridor filled his heart with disgust. What kind of place was this? Who is it? Mrs. Chen asked curiously. Today was Sunday, and Chun Shi was picking up trash with Grandpa Zhu. There shouldn't be anyone here at this time. It's me. Guanyin didn't know how to describe his identity, and he could only suppress the disgust in his heart. He pretended to be helpless and smiled bitterly. Little Shi's father. What? Mother Chen's expression froze. Her hand, which was about to open the door, immediately stopped. She was in a daze as she lowered her trembling head to look through the peephole. Through the peephole, she saw a face that made her heart ache, worry, and a little hate. It really was him. Mrs. Chen didn't even know his name, and she didn't know who he was. She only knew that he raped her, gave her a few thousand yuan, and left her alone. After that, she never saw this person again. So even in her dreams, Mrs. Chen never thought that this person would appear in front of her again. Was this a good thing or a bad thing? Although Mrs. Chen was a kind person, when she saw this man appear in front of her house again, after the excitement, there was only vigilance left. How did he find his way here? And after so many years, why did he come here? Most importantly, how did he call out Little Shi's name? One had to know that when she gave birth to Little Shi, this person didn't know. You. What do you want? I don't know you. Mrs. Chen said subconsciously. Open the door. I'm here to talk about Little Shi. Guanyin thought. Bitch, you're still pretending? You don't know me? If it wasn't for the family's grand plan, do you think I'd want to come to you? Little Shi. What happened to her? Mrs. Chen was shocked, and after hearing that it was about Chun Shi, she stopped doubting Guanyin's motives and opened the door with a bang. Chapter 2360. The dazed Mother Chen once again saw this face up close. A face that she could never forget. This was the only man she had, and the man she hated the most. The drunken promiscuity brought Chun Shi and her mother so many years of hardship. How difficult was it for a woman to raise a child all by herself? Little Shi. It's a long story. Zhao Guangyin pretended to sigh helplessly. Today he was playing the role of a downtrodden man. So even though he drove a Mercedes-Benz, his outfit was extremely shabby. Of course, it was a fake shabby outfit. What's wrong with Little Shi? Tell me. Mother Chen was losing her composure. Chun Shi was her lifeblood, and now that Zhao Guangyin was hesitating, she subconsciously felt that something was wrong. This started when I found Little Shi. Zhao Guangyin began to make up a story. After I found Little Shi, I treated her to a meal to express my apologies for all these years, but I didn't think that my enemy would come looking for me. I owed him money. In the end, He took little Shi away to pay the debt, saying that a daughter should pay for a father's debt. What? Little Shi was taken away. Mother Chen was stunned, glaring at Zhao Guangyin angrily. At this moment, her worry for her daughter made her dizzy. She forgot to ask Zhao Guangyin how he found Chen Shi, and how he found this place. All she could think of was, what should she do? What should she do? Yes, there's no other way. I can only discuss it with you. Zhao Guangyin didn't want to say another word. Seeing Mother Chen's shock, he was overjoyed. If Mother Chen wasn't afraid or didn't believe him, he would have to make up a bunch of nonsense to explain. That would be really troublesome. But he didn't expect Mother Chen to be so gullible. Then what should we do? You bastard, why are you looking for little Shi? It's been so many years, and you haven't come to see us. Why are you looking for little Shi now? Aren't you harming her? Mother Chen was very agitated. Why does your enemy want to capture Xiaoxi? At this sigh, I was just thinking that since we haven't seen each other for so many years, I should make it up to little Shi. Who would have thought that my enemy would come? Guangyin said bitterly. He brought little Shi to the casino in the commercial district of Donghai City. I heard that he wanted to curry favor with the Southeast Asian gambling king, Park Ho-ti, and was prepared to give little Shi to him. I couldn't stop him. Sigh, it's all my fault. What? Mother Chen was dumbfounded. What Southeast Asian gambling king? What casino? This made her feel that it was very far away from her life. It had nothing to do with her at all. As for the Southeast Asian gambling king, since he was called the gambling king, he must be a powerful and wealthy person. She was just a weak woman. How could she compete with him? She really hated Zhao Guangyin to death. Of all times, he had to come at this time. It was simply a disaster for her and her daughter. At this time, Boss Zhu pushed the door open and ran in shouting, not good, Xiao Chen. Chen Shi was taken away. Boss Zhu's appearance was naturally arranged to make Mother Chen believe it was true. If only Boss Zhu appeared, perhaps Mother Chen wouldn't believe it so easily. After all, how could a little girl who picked up trash be taken away? However, Zhao Guangyin's appearance was different. Once he appeared, Mother Chen's mind was in a mess. Then he threw out the bomb that Chen Shi had been kidnapped, which made Mother Chen even more confused. She didn't have the time to think about whether this matter was true or not. Especially when Boss Zhu appeared at the right time. It confirmed Zhao Guangyin's words. Mother Chen was already at a loss. And now Boss Zhu appeared and said that Chen Shi was taken away. Mother Chen was dumbfounded. Ah, you're here too? You bastard, didn't you say you're Chen Shi's father? Are you going to treat her to a meal and tell her something? Why did I see her being taken away? Boss Zhu didn't expect Zhao Guangyin to be here. When he saw Zhao Guangyin, he immediately pointed at him and cursed. This. Zhao Guangyin laughed in his heart. Boss Zhu's acting was quite good. You? The situation is urgent now. I secretly followed those people for a while. And I heard that they wanted to use Chen Shi as a bet, to please the king of gambling, Pak Ho-ti. Chen, quickly think of a way. Don't let those beasts ruin Chen Shi. Boss Zhu said anxiously. Boss Zhu, what should we do? Mother Chen asked in panic. Now we can only think of a way to ask someone to help us. Boss Zhu began to set up a trap, ready to lead Mother Chen into the trap. I'm just a weak woman, I don't know anyone. How can I compare with those rich and powerful gambling kings? Who can we find to save Chen Shi? Mother Chen said helplessly. Right, I remember someone, he must have a way. Boss Zhu slapped his thigh as if he remembered something important. Who? Zhao Guangyin and Mother Chen asked at the same time. Linny. Boss Zhu finally said the name that he had been waiting for a long time. Linny. Can he help? Mother Chen was desperate. When she heard Boss Zhu mention Linny, she subconsciously thought that Linny might be able to help. After all, Linny had helped their family a lot. Maybe he really had a way. Chen Shi said that Linny had a lot of connections in Songshan. He even knew people from Pengzhan Industries. So he must have a way. So in her panic, Mother Chen didn't have time to think carefully. She picked up the phone and dialed Lin Yi's number. Linny held the phone in his hand as he recalled what Mrs. Chen had said. It was a bit confusing, but Linny understood it all. Chen Shi had been kidnapped, brought to the casino he was in, and someone was using her as a wager against Southeast Asia's king of gamblers, Park Ho-ti. Or, to please Pak Ho tea. This person took the initiative to give Chun-Shi to Pak Ho tea. Although Mother Chen's explanation was full of loopholes in Lin Yi's eyes. Something about Chun-Shi's father who hadn't seen for years appearing and taking Chun-Shi away. Or her father's enemies appearing and taking Chun-Shi away. Then Chun-Shi's father came looking for her. This series of actions was indescribably strange. Where did Chun-Shi's father find Chun-Shi? How did he know where Mother Chen lived? Why did Chun-Shi eat with a stranger? The most amazing thing was that Boss Ju, an Earth-class early-phase master, could only watch as Chun-Shi was taken away, and even came back to testify. Chapter 2361. Mother Chen once again saw this face up close, a face she could never forget. This was the only man she had, and the man she hated the most. The drunken promiscuity brought Chun-Shi and her mother so many years of hardship. How difficult was it for a woman to raise a child all by herself? Little Shi. Sigh, it's a long story. Zhao Guangyin pretended to sigh helplessly. Today, he was playing the role of a downtrodden man, so even though he drove a Mercedes-Benz, his outfit was extremely shabby. Of course, it was a fake shabby outfit. What happened to little Shi? Tell me. Mother Chen was a little uneasy. Chun-Shi was her lifeblood, and now that Zhao Guangyin was hesitating, she subconsciously felt that something was wrong. This started when I found little Shi. Zhao Guangyin began to make up a story. After I found little Shi, I treated her to a meal to express my apologies for all these years, but I didn't think that my enemy would come looking for me. I owed him money. In the end, he directly took little Shi away to pay the debt, saying that a daughter should pay for a father's debt. What? Little Shi was taken away. Mother Chen was stunned, and she glared at Zhao Guangyin angrily. At this moment, her worry for her daughter made her dizzy. She forgot to ask how Zhao Guangyin found Chun-Shi, and how he found this place. All she could think of was, what should I do? What should I do? Yes, there's no other way. I can only come and discuss it with you. Zhao Guangyin didn't want to say another word. And now that he saw Mother Chen's shock, he was immediately overjoyed. If Mother Chen wasn't afraid or didn't believe him, he would have to make up a bunch of nonsense to explain. That would be really troublesome. But he didn't expect Mother Chen to be so gullible, believing him so quickly. Then what should I do? You bastard, why are you looking for little Shi? It's been so many years. You haven't come to see us. Why are you looking for little Shi now? Aren't you harming her? Mother Chen was very agitated. Why does your enemy want to capture Xiaoxi? I was just thinking that since we haven't seen each other for so many years, I should make it up to little Shi. Who would have thought that my enemy would come? Guangyin said bitterly. He brought little Shi to the casino in the commercial district of Donghai City. I heard that he wanted to curry favor with the Southeast Asian gambling king, Park Ho Ti, and was prepared to give little Shi to him. I couldn't stop him. It's all my fault. What? Mother Chen was dumbfounded. What Southeast Asian gambling king? What casino? This made her feel that it was very far away from her life. It had nothing to do with her at all. As for the Southeast Asian gambling king, since he was called the gambling king, he must be a powerful and wealthy person. She was just a weak woman. How could she compete with him? She really hated Zhao Guangyin to death. Of all times, he had to come at this time. It was simply a disaster for her and her daughter. At this time, Boss Ju pushed the door open and ran in shouting, not good, Xiao Chen. Chun-Shi was taken away. Boss Ju's appearance was naturally arranged to make Mother Chen believe it was true. If only Boss Ju appeared, perhaps Mother Chen wouldn't believe it so easily. After all, how could a little girl who picked up trash be taken away? However, Zhao Guangyin's appearance was different. Once he appeared, Mother Chen's mind was in a mess. Then, he threw out the bomb that Chun-Shi had been kidnapped, which made Mother Chen even more confused. She didn't have the time to think about whether this was true or not. Especially when Boss Ju appeared at the right time. It confirmed Zhao Guangyin's words. Mother Chen was already at a loss. And now Boss Ju appeared, and said that Chun-Shi was taken away. Mother Chen was dumbfounded. Ah, you're here too. You bastard. Didn't you say you're Chun-Shi's father? Are you going to treat her to a meal, and tell her something? Why did I see her being taken away? Boss Zhu didn't expect Zhao Guangyin to be here. When he saw Zhao Guangyin, he immediately pointed at him and cursed. This. Zhao Guangyin laughed in his heart. Boss Zhu's acting was quite good. You? The situation is urgent now. I secretly followed those people for a while, and I heard that they wanted to use Chun Shi as a bet to please the king of gambling, Pak Ho Ti. Chun, quickly think of a way. Don't let those beasts ruin Chun Shi. Boss Zhu said anxiously. Boss Zhu, what should we do? Mother Chun asked in panic. Now we can only think of a way to ask someone to help us. Boss Zhu began to set up a trap, ready to lead Mother Chun into the trap. I'm just a weak woman. I don't know anyone. How can I compare with those rich and powerful gambling kings? Who can we find to save Chun Shi? Mother Chun said helplessly. Right, I remember someone, he must have a way. Boss Zhu slapped his thigh, as if he remembered something important. Who? Zhao Guangyin and Mother Chun asked at the same time. Lenny. Boss Zhu finally said the name that he had been waiting for a long time. Lenny. Can he help? Mother Chun was desperate. When she heard Boss Zhu mention Lenny, she subconsciously thought that Lenny might be able to help. After all, Lenny had helped their family a lot. Maybe he really had a way. Chun Shi said that Lenny had a lot of connections in Songshan. He even knew people from Pengzhan Industries. So he must have a way. So in her panic, Mother Chun didn't have time to think carefully. She picked up the phone and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lenny held the phone in his hand as he recalled what Mrs. Chun had said. It was a bit confusing, but Lenny understood it all. Chun Shi had been kidnapped, brought to the casino he was in, and someone was using her as a wager against Southeast Asia's king of gamblers, Pak Ho Ti. In other words, this person wanted to please Pak Ho Ti, and took the initiative to give Chun Shi to Pak Ho Ti. Although Mother Chun's explanation was full of loopholes in Lin Yi's eyes, Chun Shi's father that she hadn't seen for many years appeared, and took Chun Shi away. Or Chun Shi's father's enemy appeared and took Chun Shi away. Then Chun Shi's father came looking for her. Chapter 2362. It didn't make sense at all. If Lenny didn't know that Boss Zhu was an Earth-class early phase, then so be it. Boss Zhu was clearly a master, and something like this had happened. There was only one possibility. Boss Zhu was hiding something, and this might have something to do with him. But all of this wasn't important anymore, because no matter what, Lenny had to save Chun Shi. He knew that this was a trap set up by Boss Zhu, but Lenny had no choice but to jump in. He couldn't just watch someone die. If something happened to Chun Shi, not only would it be hard to explain to Ziyu, but it would also be hard to explain to Xiao Xiao. After all, this was the girl that Xiao Xiao decided to help. If Xiao Xiao left, and Lenny didn't take good care of her, Xiao Xiao would be unhappy when she came back. There was no other way. Lenny had to go meet that Pu Ho Ti. Shoo, Yao Yao, you guys stay here and play. I have something to do. I need to go to the second floor. Lenny said to the two. Alright Shield bro, go do what you need to do. Yushu was having fun, and she'd basically figured out the rules of the slot machine. She could win at least 2 or 3 times out of 10, but it was a level where she didn't lose anything. Lenny nodded. The security here was quite strong, and as long as Meng Yao and Yushu didn't cause trouble, there shouldn't be any problems. After all, the people who came here were all rich people, and if the security wasn't good, who would come here again? Yao Yao, keep an eye on Shu. Don't let her cause trouble. She can play by herself. Lenny told Meng Yao. I know, don't worry. The miss was a sensible person, and naturally, she wouldn't let Shu cause trouble. With that, Lenny walked to the second floor of the casino. The first floor was for the public, and it was very normal. The second floor, on the other hand, was for 5-card stud bets, and the entry chips were 1 million. Mrs. Chun, under Boss Zhu's guidance, knew that Chun Shi was in the second floor, and even knew the room number. There were many problems, but Mrs. Chun was panicking and didn't pay attention to these details. Lenny, on the other hand, was different. This was most likely Boss Zhu's doing. Good day, mister. This is the VIP section upstairs. You'll need to show your membership card, or exchange 1 million in chips. Lenny was about to go downstairs when 2 waiters stopped him, saying politely, I'll go find someone. Lenny said, He was going to exchange his chips directly, but he suddenly remembered that if this was Boss Ju's doing, there had to be something fishy going on. Boss Ju would want him to get there as soon as possible. If he was stuck in the matter of the chips, it might not be what Boss Ju wanted to see, so Lenny intended to test it. Looking for someone? The waiters were slightly surprised, and then asked, "Sir, who are you looking for?" "The number 1 room, the gambling king Puhuti." Lenny said, "I'm looking for the person who gambled with him." Oh, the waiters who asked the question were slightly surprised. Just when he wanted to say something, the other waiters interrupted him and directly gestured to Lenny. "Sir, please go downstairs." Lenny sneered in his heart. Sure enough, someone must have told this waiter. Otherwise, this waiter wouldn't go against the casino's choice. First, he didn't want the membership card, and second, he didn't let Lenny buy chips. He directly asked Lenny to go downstairs. Although in the casino, the members could bring people to the 2nd floor, but it must be in the presence of the members. In a situation like Lin Yi's, it was normally not allowed, but this waiter did it. Lenny smiled slightly, took the escalator downstairs, and went straight to the number 1 room. The gambling king of Southeast Asia, naturally, deserved the treatment of the sky's first room. However, Lenny was stopped by someone at the door. "Who are you? What are you doing?" A man in black stretched out his arm coldly and blocked Lin Yi's path. This person was just an ordinary bodyguard, not even a golden class master. Lenny naturally wouldn't put him in his eyes. But before Lenny could reply, another man in a white suit said to the man in black, "You must be Gambling Bro's friend, please come in." Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. A master at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class was just a bodyguard, and he purposely said that he was Gambling Bro's friend, to confuse right and wrong. Did he really think that Lenny didn't know the problem here? Moreover, his words clearly indicated that he was waiting for Lenny to come. It wasn't a coincidence that Chun-Shi was kidnapped by her enemy like Mother Chen said. Indeed, Lenny was already at the door. Zhao Guangyin's people didn't need to hide anything anymore. From his point of view, since Lenny was here, then he was a dead man. A superhuman, and an Earth-class late-phase peak would definitely be able to make Lenny stay here. This was also Zhao Guangyin's intention. Since Lenny was here, then there was no need to pretend anymore. His act was to fool Mother Chen, and Zhao Guangyin knew that he couldn't fool Lenny. "Oh, thank you." Lenny patted the shoulder of the master, at the peak of the late-phase peak of the mystic class. It looked like he was thanking him, but he was actually activating the first form of the fiery 8 trigrams palm. And so, this pitiful master at the peak of the late-phase peak of the mystic class, Zhao Qi-san, died without even being able to resist. Because he never would have thought that Lenny would attack him without a sound, and it was a killing move. He died with his eyes wide open. The black-clothed man saw that Lenny had killed him. He wanted to say something, but Lenny grabbed his neck and easily crushed him to death. Since he was here to cause trouble, Lenny didn't need to pretend. Mercy, there was no need to be merciful. Lenny didn't like Boss Ju from the start. If it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't sure which force he belonged to, and that he wasn't his opponent before, Lenny would have killed him a long time ago. Of course, the other reason why Lenny didn't do anything to him was because Boss Ju was beside Chun-Shi. Although he definitely had ulterior motives, at least he could protect Chun-Shi. This was also why Lenny kept him alive. But now was it finally time to make a move? Chapter 2363. Mr. Park, this Gamble Bro was just an attendant in this room. And whether it was in the eyes of Southeast Asia's gambling king, or the hidden house Zhao, he was just a small character. Of course, he knew how Lenny came in, because the hidden house Zhao had given him a heads up. Although he didn't dare offend Pu Huati, he didn't dare offend the hidden house Zhao in Donghai City. Brother Gamble could only stammer awkwardly, as he did not know how to explain. "Where's Chun-Shi?" Lenny looked at the two people who had a surprised look in their eyes. These two were probably in cahoots with the Mystic Late Phase Peak. One of them was Mystic Late Phase Peak, and the other was Earth Class Early Phase. Their expressions proved that they were waiting for him. Chun-Shi. She already lost to Southeast Asia's gambling king, Mr. Pu Huati. The Earth-class early phase smiled and said to Lin Yi, "There's nothing for us to do here, we're leaving. Mr. Park, enjoy yourself." Lin Yi, on the other hand, turned his attention to Pu Huati and the man in black behind him. Pu Huati, Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He was a practitioner, but Lin Yi couldn't see through his strength. He didn't know what level he was at. This was the first time Lin Yi's golden finger had malfunctioned like this. Even when he was facing the Sky class from the Ice Palace, or even the masters from the Tagan family, it never failed. But this time, it failed on a Southeast Asia gambling king. This person was indeed a spiritual practitioner, but Lin Yi couldn't see through his level. But the man in black behind him, Lin Yi could clearly see through his strength. He was an Earth-class late-phase peak spiritual practitioner. Lin Yi frowned and understood that these two were strong opponents. If they really fought, it would be very troublesome. And Lin Yi could basically conclude that Chunxi didn't have much of a relationship with these two. Chunxi and these two people actually didn't have much of a relationship. These two people getting involved was completely a trap set up by Boss Zhu. Therefore, after some consideration, Lin Yi decided not to directly deal with Pu Huati and the bodyguards behind him. Instead, he targeted the two problematic people here. "Who is the master behind you? Who told you to bring Chunxi here as a stake?" Lin Yi asked lightly. "Speak or die." This Earth-rank expert was called Zhao Guangliu. Chunxi wasn't in the room. After Lin Yi arrived, he would definitely look for Chunxi. Now that Chunxi belonged to Pu Huati, if Lin Yi wanted to make a move, it would be against Pu Huati. He didn't expect Lin Yi to target him the moment he entered the room. Of course, if Lin Yi didn't know that there was something wrong with Elder Zhu, and only thought of them as enemies of Chunxi's father, perhaps Lin Yi really wouldn't care about them. But he let them go. After all, Lin Yi's main goal here was to find Chunxi. But Lin Yi knew that these people had something to do with Boss Zhu. Naturally, he wouldn't let them go. As for Pu Huati, he was someone that Lin Yi didn't care much about. Chunxi is in the room. She belongs to Mr. Pu now. It has nothing to do with us. Chunxi's father gave her to us. Don't look for us. Guangliu was a little scared. He knew that Lin Yi had crippled Elder Bai in one move, so he didn't think that he could fight against Lin Yi. "Yeah, we'll leave first if there's nothing else. You want to look for someone, go find Mr. Pu." "Let's go to Mr. Pu," another mystic late-phase peak Zhao Qixi said. "What's the relationship between you and Boss Zhu?" Lin Yi didn't answer the two. "What Boss Zhu? We don't know each other." Guangliu was about to turn and leave the room. He didn't want to argue with Lin Yi. The longer they stayed here, the more dangerous it would be. Zhao Qixi had the same thought. This was a fight between Lin Yi and Pu Huati, so they should leave as soon as possible. "Since you don't want to talk, then stay." Lin Yi didn't want to waste any more time with them. They were just small fries. If they didn't want to talk, then so be it. The problem still needed to be solved by Boss Zhu. The next moment Lin Yi moved. It was still the first form of the Fire 8 trigrams palm, and Qixi died without a chance to fight back. He didn't even resist, didn't even struggle. He died just like that. In Lin Yi's eyes, killing a mystic late-phase peak was as easy as killing a chicken. Guangliu wanted to say something, but Lin Yi used another maniac 8 trigram palm, and Guangliu died with his eyes wide open. The two of them couldn't understand why Lin Yi didn't go to Pu Huati for Chunxi, but killed them first. According to their assumptions, Lin Yi would be in a hurry to find Chunxi, and as the third party who lost Chunxi to Pu Huati, it should be easy for them to get away from this. But reality and ideals were different. Lin Yi didn't give them a chance to explain at all. He killed them with lightning speed. Of course, the reason why Lin Yi was so ruthless was because Boss Zhu had bitten Chunxi with a poisonous snake. So Lin Yi didn't have a single good impression of Boss Zhu and his men. But most importantly, Lin Yi was killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Because Lin Yi had a cheat, he could see the strength of Pu Huati's bodyguards. And because of this cheat, Lin Yi felt that Pu Huati would be hard to deal with. So he didn't want to be his enemy if he could. So Boss Zhu's men didn't die in vain. They thought that Lin Yi would have a conflict with the gambling king of Southeast Asia, Pu Huati. But Lin Yi didn't. Even Zhao Guanyin, an old man Zhao, thought that Lin Yi would directly make a move on Pu Huati. Under normal circumstances, What kind of strength could a gambling king have? Even if he had a bodyguard, it couldn't be too strong. Gambling Bro's daughter's bodyguard was only a golden class master, so they thought that Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid of anything. Old Man Zhao also wanted to use this point to make Lin Yi make a move on Pu Huati, so that he could kill him with a borrowed knife. But now, the person was killed. But it was just borrowing Lin Yi's knife to kill the hidden Zhao family's people. After getting rid of the two practitioners, Lin Yi acted as if nothing had happened. He turned to look at Pu Huati and smiled. Mr. Pu, where's that girl called Chunxi? She's my friend. I hope you can let me take her away. Pu Huati frowned and began to guess Lin Yi's true strength. Chapter 2364. A practitioner with this kind of strength was most likely from a hidden house, or from the ancient times. Pu Huati didn't want to provoke these kinds of people, and usually chose to avoid them. It wasn't that Pu Huati was afraid of them, it was just that Pu Huati's roots weren't here. He was the gambling king, and he didn't want to cause trouble. Before he left, his master had told him that there were many hidden masters here, and it was best not to make enemies. But Pu Huati didn't want to make enemies. It was because he couldn't let go of Chunxi. Pu Huati had a secret. To outsiders, he was seen as a perverted ability user. But he himself knew that he wasn't an ability user, but a demonic cultivator. What he cultivated was different from ordinary cultivators. His master was once the subordinate of a very powerful elder in Miaojiang. That elder was once a demonic cultivator, who used to refine venomous insects to achieve the goal of cultivation. However, that elder was killed by someone. His master endured the humiliation and hid for many years. Finally, he found an opportunity to successfully escape to Southeast Asia. He established his own sect and founded a new sect, the Right Miao sect. The people in this sect all practiced a type of goo poison. But the information his master got wasn't very complete, and there were many flaws. Most of the people who practiced this poison died, and only Pu Huati succeeded. But in order for the poison to grow stronger, he needed virgin blood to refine it. So he wasn't a pervert, but he had a secret that he couldn't tell others. Once this kind of poison was mastered, it would be invulnerable to weapons and fire. Although it wouldn't reach the level of the ancestral master elder, it would still be able to reach half of the level. Even so, it was enough to compete with those who mastered the golden cover and iron shirt. And Pu Huati, who had countless women under his belt, immediately saw what was special about Chunxi. Chunxi wasn't an ordinary girl, but a first-rate cultivation cauldron. This type of cauldron wasn't like those ordinary girls, who only had an effect when they slept together for the first time. Chunxi could provide endless help to Pu Huati's cultivation. So, even if it meant offending Lin Yi, Pu Huati had to get Chunxi. Even if he had to hide in Southeast Asia and never come out, he wouldn't let go of this golden opportunity. Of course, his superficial identity as a mutant was also a disguise to cover up his true identity as a demonic cultivator. As for his identity as the gambling king, it was just a disguise. It was just to make it easier for him to find some girls that he treated as cultivation resources. In fact, the reason why he could become the gambling king was very simple. He could control a type of insect called the eye and ear insect. Although this insect was very difficult to refine, and only his master could refine it, Pu Huati was able to use it. The so-called eye and ear goo was a type of goo that could fly. It was very small in size and would fly in the air. It was distributed in a radius of 10 meters, or even a few hundred meters around Pu Huati. These flying insects were Pu Huati's eyes and ears. Whatever the flying insects saw and heard, they would be transmitted to Pu Huati. Therefore, Pu Huati could become the gambling king, because of these goo insects called eye and ear goo. As for the ability, it was just an excuse. But Pu Huati didn't refute the rumor. False could be true, sometimes true could be false. Anyway, it was true and false. As long as he used his identity as the gambling king to continuously find girls, to refine his demonic cultivation, it would be fine. I don't care who you are. The casino has the rules of the casino. She is already my trophy. I won't let anyone take her away. Pu Huati quickly made a decision and said faintly, "Please." Lin Yi frowned. He didn't expect that Pu Huati wouldn't give him face even after he killed 2 people. It seemed like he had something to rely on, because in Lin Yi's opinion, a person who was lustful wouldn't be this desperate. Fighting against a powerful enemy, for an ordinary girl, wasn't a worthwhile thing. As the gambling king of Southeast Asia, what kind of girl couldn't he find? Was there one more? Mr. Pu, I don't want to be your enemy, but if you insist on going against me, then I can only use force. Lin Yi's voice became cold. What Pu Huati usually did had nothing to do with Lin Yi, but today, he wanted to take Chen Shi away by force. Lin Yi could only take action. Go against me? Do you think you're worthy? Pu Huati smiled coldly. An Earth-class early phase, and a Mystic-class late phase peak. 2 ants were killed by you. Do you think that's amazing? Or do you think that you're trying to give me a show of strength? Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. He didn't think that Pu Huati would say something like this after he'd shown his strength. The only possibility was that Pu Huati was very strong. Or, he was relying on the Earth-class late phase peak next to him. From the beginning until now, Lin Yi had killed an Earth-class early phase, and a Mystic-class late phase peak. But Lin Yi's strength was that of an Earth-class mid-phase. This was probably why Pu Huati was so fearless. If we don't get along, then let's fight. Lin Yi felt a surge of heroism. The black-clothed bodyguard behind Pu Huati was clearly not a normal Earth-class late-phase peak. His strength was there, but his chi waves were far stronger than Elder Bai's. He was even stronger than the Earth-class late-phase peak 5 guardians. This person was a strong opponent. If Lin Yi were to fight him, it wouldn't be easy for him. So when Lin Yi said that, he also sent a message to Elder Pai and the others. Lin Yi had been using this phone for a long time, and he was very familiar with the controls. He didn't need to look at the screen at all. This was the most basic skill Lin Yi had when he was an assassin. Pu Laolu, go kill him. Pu Huati frowned, not wanting to talk to Lin Yi anymore. Yes. When the black-clothed bodyguard behind Pu Huati heard Pu Huati's words, he immediately moved. At this moment, before the battle even started, the incomparably domineering aura in his body exploded out, reaching its peak. Following that, Pu Laoyo's body pressed down on Lin Yi, his right claw turning light red as well. Lin Yi didn't know what technique it was, but Pu Laolu grabbed at Lin Yi. Suddenly, a wave of pure energy surged towards Lin Yi, and the strong and domineering pressure made Lin Yi's breath catch in his throat. Chapter 2365. Ho! Fiery 8 trigrams palm 5th form. Lin Yi didn't dare to be careless. He quickly circulated his chi, and activated his strongest martial technique. In an instant, red flames accompanied Lin Yi's palms, as they flew towards Parkoel 6. Hiss! Park Huati was fine as he watched the fight between Lin Yi and Parkoel 6 expressionlessly. But Gamble Bro, on the other hand, took in a breath of cold air. He was starting to feel uneasy. He was only a peak late phase golden class master. But when Lin Yi and Parkoel 6 used their martial techniques, the formless heat in the air was unbearable for him. This was what it meant when the gods fought. The little devil suffered. When Lin Yi killed the 2 hidden masters from House Zhao, Gamble Bro didn't think much of it. But when Lin Yi used his strongest technique, in this small room, Gamble Bro couldn't take the pressure anymore. Mr. Park? Can I leave first? Gamble Bro looked at Park Huati carefully. Park Huati snorted. His attention was on Lin Yi and Parkoel 6, and he didn't pay attention to Gamble Bro at all. As for whether Gamble Bro left or not, it didn't matter to him. He was just a small character. After hearing Park Huati's permission, Gamble Bro felt as if he had been pardoned. He quickly ran out of the room, but as soon as he stepped out, he saw the 2 corpses at the door. He shivered and didn't dare to stay any longer. In his opinion, no matter who won or lost, Brother Gamble couldn't afford to provoke them. Therefore, it was better for him to leave first. Seeing Lin Yi's technique, Pu Laoyo's eyes flashed with a hint of disbelief. Perhaps he didn't think that Lin Yi, a mid-earth class warrior, would be able to use the 11th technique. It was a technique that only a sky-class warrior could use. Could it be that he was hiding his strength? Pu Laoyo's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't think it was possible. Lin Yi's true chi was clearly at the mid-earth class level. Once he activated the 11th technique, He wouldn't be able to hide his true strength anymore. But the situation in front of him was very strange. Lin Yi had indeed used the strength of an Earth-class middle stage to activate the 11th martial technique that only a Heaven-class early-stage master could use. This was simply unimaginable. However, even so, Pu Laoyu's heart was only shocked for a moment. He wasn't afraid, because his martial technique was also a high-grade martial technique. It wasn't the low-grade martial techniques of ordinary hidden families. Now that he had mastered the 10th technique of the sky-splitting claw, he didn't need to be afraid of Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigrams palm's 5th technique. Even though this 5th technique had the power of the 11th technique, the distance between the two wasn't far to begin with. In the blink of an eye, the distance between the two became smaller and smaller. Lin Yi's palms faced Pu Laoyu's sky-splitting claw. This situation made Pu Laoyu a little puzzled. Normally, martial techniques were used with one hand. Could Lin Yi use both hands? This fellow was not just any ordinary kind of strange. In theory, it was not easy to be able to use a martial skill with one hand. Unless it was a martial skill that required both hands to use at the same time. Then it could be used with both hands. However, most martial skills were only used with one hand. Only those special people who had studied martial skills thoroughly could use both hands at the same time. Of course, although both hands could be used at the same time, it was only the same type of martial technique. The power would only increase by a little. It couldn't be doubled. So Pu Laoyu wasn't very afraid. He only had a strong desire to fight. It had been a long time since he met a true opponent. As a mystic late-phase peak, it wasn't strange for him to fight a Heaven-class early-stage master. But when he saw Lin Yi, his eyes flashed with excitement. Because he knew that Lin Yi was someone like him. Someone who could fight a higher-level opponent. Wasn't Lin Yi the same? Lin Yi had been stuck at the bottleneck of Earth-class mid-phase for quite a while now. He'd just broken through at the Hidden House Summit. And it didn't seem like a long time. But he'd gone through quite a bit of training during that time. And was only a step away from Earth-class mid-phase peak. Leveling up during battle was Lin Yi's ultimate weapon. So this time, although Lin Yi felt that his opponent was troublesome, he still made his move. But Lin Yi had a backup plan. Old Pai came to help. A palm and a claw violently collided with each other. A dull sound of impact suddenly rang out from the point of contact between the fist and the claw. With this point as the origin, a raging wave of true energy rippled out rapidly in all directions. But Pu Huatiai's face didn't change as he sat in front of the gambling table. He wasn't affected at all by the chi from the fight. It was as if all of this had nothing to do with him. In reality, this really had nothing to do with Pu Huati. He trained in a type of King Kong goo poison. Although he hadn't mastered it yet, this level of chi didn't affect him at all. Boom! Lin Yi's other palm landed on Pu Laoyu's chest. It made a muffled sound, but Pu Laoyu didn't seem to be hurt at all. His body shook slightly, and he took on Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigram palm head-on. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was injured by the chi from Pu Huatiai's unknown skill. Lin Yi took a few steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. A cultivator of both internal and external strength. Lin Yi looked at Pu Laoyu in disbelief. He didn't expect Pu Laoyu to be a cultivator of both internal and external strength. And it seemed like his external strength training focused on defense, similar to the Golden Clock faction's defensive skills. Smart. Pu Laoyu was hit by the 5th form of the Fire 8 trigram palm as well, but he was a practitioner of both internal and external disciplines. The clash of pure chi did cause some damage to him, but his meridians and organs weren't damaged at all. He was only shaken up a little. Does your external martial arts have a high defensive attribute? After falling to the ground, Lin Yi didn't rush to get up. Instead, he quickly used the art of dragon mastery to heal his internal injuries. He was just stalling for time. Not bad. Pu Laoyu nodded. You're also the first low-level cultivator to survive under my hands. Chapter 2366. You are indeed strong. Lin Yi did not deny it. But, I will not give up. Stupid. Pu Laoyu sneered. Fine, I didn't want to kill you. But since you want to ruin Mr. Park's plan, I can only send you to hell. Lin Yi's expression changed slightly. His opponent's strength was almost a notch higher than his. If he still had the Vulcan bullets, Lin Yi would have 100% chance of winning. Unfortunately, he had used 2 Vulcan bullets on the guard and 1 on Tag and Dragon. Now he could only fight head-on. Although a head-on collision was the most disadvantageous way for Lin Yi had no other choice. Mystic class was a competition of strength, while Earth class was a competition of the strength of martial arts. Only Sky class masters could infuse their true chi into their weapons, and at Earth class, using weapons would be a burden. Frenzy Fire 8 Trigrams Palm 5th form. Lin Yi once again activated the Frenzy Fire 8 Trigrams Palm, but this time, Lin Yi's target was Pu Laoyou's head. He was looking for a weakness, hoping that his head would be his weakness. However, the disdain in Pu Laoyou's eyes made Lin Yi understand that his head was not a weakness. This person was the same as Ma Zhu, a physical practitioner with high defense. It was not easy to find a weakness from head to toe, especially since this person had practiced internal martial arts and became a master of internal martial arts that could attack. It was even more difficult to deal with. So in an instant Lin Yi made a decision. As the saying goes, to capture all the followers, one must first capture the ringleader. Lin Yi might as well not attack Pu Laolu. Since his attacks were useless, he might as well leave his back for him to attack. Meanwhile, Lin Yi shifted his target to Pu Huati. Suddenly, Lin Yi's attack on Park OL6 made an inconceivable turn in the air, and both of his palms suddenly attacked Park Ho-ti, who was sitting beside the gambling table. When Lin Yi was an assassin, he had learned a kind of footwork. When he used it, he was faster than ordinary cultivators. This footwork could also make some seemingly unimaginable moves, such as now. Neither Park OL6 nor Park Ho-ti expected Lin Yi to suddenly turn around and target Park Ho-ti. Boom, boom, bang. Lin Yi's palms accurately landed on Pu Huati's chest, and Park Old Sixth Heaven splitting earth splitting claw, that was flickering with fiery red true energy, also grabbed onto Lin Yi's back. Uft. At the same time that Lin Yi hit Park Ho-ti, he was also hit by Park OL6. A mouthful of blood sprayed on the gambling table, dyeing the poker cards red. However, what made Lin Yi feel inconceivable was that Park Ho-ti did not dodge or dodge. Instead, he took on Lin Yi's move with an indifferent expression on his face. Because of Lin Yi's speed, Park Ho-ti definitely could not dodge. Even if he was an early-stage heaven stage expert, he would definitely not be able to dodge Lin Yi's sudden change of move. After all, the private room was too small. But even if he could not dodge, it did not mean that he could not dodge and avoid the important parts. However, Park Ho-ti did not dodge. He used his chest to take on the 5th form of Lin Yi's Mad Fire 8 Trigram Palm. After receiving the move, his expression was still indifferent, as if the person that Lin Yi just hit was not him at all. You are also a physical cultivator? Lin Yi was shocked. A trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Park OL6 was a physical cultivator with high defense. This was already very shocking to Lin Yi, but he did not expect Park Ho-ti to be the same. However, Lin Yi still could not clearly see Park Ho-ti's level of strength. Although Lin Yi's golden finger could not directly see the level of a physical cultivator's strength, when a physical cultivator used an external mental cultivation technique to defend or attack, they would use the surrounding spiritual energy to transform into true chi around their body. At this time, Lin Yi could determine their level of strength. Because of this, when Park OL6 was defending, Lin Yi knew that he was a physical and external cultivator. However, Park Ho-ti did not. Lin Yi could not even see his level. Lin Yi only had a feeling that he was a cultivator, but he did not know the specifics of what he practiced and what level of strength he had. Park Ho-ti did not answer Lin Yi's question. Instead, he looked at Lin Yi and said, "You are not weak. I do not want to be enemies with the practitioners on your side. Now turn around and leave, I will not stop you." Although Park Ho-ti was not injured, he could feel that Lin Yi was not an ordinary person. He was only a mid-earth class practitioner, but he was able to raise his martial technique to the 11th form of the Sky class early stage. This was definitely not some random wandering practitioner. Therefore, Park Ho-tae guessed that Lin Yi's background was not that simple. He must have the support of an ancient sect or some other force. Being enemies with him was not a good thing. According to Park Ho-tae's plan, he was prepared to stay in China for a period of time. He would go to various underground casinos and challenge the king of gambling, as well as some arrogant gamblers. This way, he would be able to exchange for the virginity of a few young girls to practice his demonic arts. Because of this, after seeing Lin Yi's strength, he was a bit scared. He did not want to be enemies with Lin Yi. I also do not want to be enemies with you, but you have captured my friend. I must bring her back, or else I will not rest until I die. Lin Yi did not back down. Do you really think that I am afraid of you? Park Ho-tae frowned and said lightly, I am just a bit afraid of trouble. Since you are so stubborn, then don't blame me for being impolite. Park OL6 continue. Kid, Mr. Park will let you live. Don't be so ungrateful. Park OL6 said coldly, you can't beat me. Although I have to admit that your martial technique is very powerful, it can only give me a small injury. If you want to hurt me, you can't even use 100 moves. Oh, so you are saying that I can't do anything to you? No matter how powerful my martial technique is, it will be useless? Lin Yi asked. Kid, if I don't tell you, I am afraid that you will not give up. To be honest, my internal and external martial techniques complement each other. In this world, unless it is someone who is a lot stronger than me, such as Sky Class Mid-Stage and above, anyone under Sky Class Mid-Stage and below is not much of a threat to me. Park OL6 said proudly, the bane of my external martial techniques is actually my internal martial techniques. Only my internal martial techniques can break through my external martial techniques. Chapter 2367. Lin Yi held back his excitement at the thought, but his face remained expressionless. He didn't think that old Six would reveal his secret. Originally, Lin Yi only wanted to get some information out of Pu Laolu, to buy some time, then compress a true energy bomb and throw it at him. However, the compressed true energy bomb did not have enough time. Most importantly, if Lin Yi could secretly learn Pu Laoyo's martial arts technique, it would be much easier than compressing the true energy bomb. Compressing the true energy bomb was not something that could be completed in a short period of time. You can say that. This martial arts technique was destroyed by me after I obtained it. As far as I know, no one else has it. Pu Laolu said calmly. So, I advise you not to waste your time. The reason why Pu Laolu told Lin Yi the truth was that he did not think that Lin Yi could learn his martial arts technique. Even if Lin Yi could get his hands on his martial arts technique through special means, it would take a long time. Moreover, his martial arts technique was unique. It was impossible for Lin Yi to get his hands on it. In short, he was not afraid that Lin Yi would use this martial arts technique against him. However, he did not expect Lin Yi to steal it. Is that so? Let's try again. Lin Yi said as he activated the fifth style of Frenzy 8 trigram palm, and went straight for Pu Laolu. Boom, boom, bang. It was still a head-on collision. Lin Yi ended the battle by retreating. However, Lin Yi's mind was not on the result. Instead, he carefully observed Pu Laoyo's method of activating the heaven and earth splitting claw. Lin Yi didn't know the chant for sky splitting earth splitting claw, and there was no way he could ask for it. So he could only imitate the activation method of sky splitting earth splitting claw, just like how he combined Fire Fist and 5-element 8 trigram palms. Using Fire Fist chant and sky splitting earth splitting claws activation method to create a new technique. After landing, Lin Yi did not stand up immediately. Instead, he closed his eyes and repeatedly replayed the method of activating the heaven and earth splitting claw in his mind. Park Laoyo's movements were like a slow-motion movie, playing over and over again in Lin Yi's mind. Because of his previous experience of combining the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm and Mu Linsen 8 trigram palm, Lin Yi did not spend too much time combining the new martial arts technique. Moreover, the current situation did not allow him to waste too much time. Brat, are you still not going to give up? Park Laolu asked coldly. Oh. Lin Yi stood up slowly. When he was combining the heaven and earth splitting claw in his mind, Lin Yi's body was not idle. He had been using the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to heal his injuries. Therefore, Lin Yi's injuries were much better now. What? Park Lalu was stunned. He did not understand Lin Yi's meaning. It's the fifth form of the Frenzy Fire 8 Trigram Palm. Lin Yi used the mantra of the fifth form of the Frenzy Fire Fist and changed the method of activating the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw. As for the Frenzy Fire 8 Trigram Palm, it was just to confuse Park Lalu. You're overestimating yourself. Pu Laoyao's eyes flashed with disdain at Lin Yi's move, and he humphed coldly. He didn't attack Lin Yi, however, and just stood there helplessly. His meaning was clear. Fight if you want to. Let's see what you can do about it. Park Lalu, be careful. Pu Huatiai's originally calm face suddenly revealed a trace of disbelief, as he suddenly called out to Pu Lalu. Park Lalu was stunned, but it was too late. Lin Yi's Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw was already on Park Laoyao's chest. Pu Laoyao's arrogant face suddenly turned pale, and a look of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Then his face turned gloomy, and his whole body flew backward, smashing into the wall of the private room with a loud bang. A deep pit was formed on the wall of the private room. Park Laoyao's injury was not light. From the blackish-purple blood that flowed out from the corner of his mouth, it was obvious that he had suffered a serious internal injury. Lin Yi wasn't too surprised. Although the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw was successfully activated, its power was far less than the Frenzy Fire 8 Trigram Palm. It was only equivalent to the power of the fifth form of the normal Frenzy Fire Fist, which was the sixth form of a normal high-tier martial arts technique. This combination of martial arts did not bring about the effect of the 5 elements 8 Trigram Palm. However, it was within Lin Yi's expectations. After all, the power of the 5 elements 8 Trigram Palm was heaven-defying. Park Laoyao's Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw could not be said to be outstanding. It was only equivalent to the power of a normal high-tier martial arts technique. Therefore, the power of the combination of Frenzy Fire Fist and Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw was equivalent to the power of the sixth form of a normal martial arts technique. This was not out of Lin Yi's expectations. However, Park Laoyu stood there without any defense or attack, and let Lin Yi hit him. This was out of Lin Yi's expectations. Isn't this guy a little too arrogant just to make me give up? Therefore, when Park Laoyu was caught off guard, Lin Yi's attack landed on his body. Even though it was only the sixth form, the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw seemed to be a martial arts technique that was specifically used to counter Park Laoyu. The damage it brought was much greater than the Frenzy Fire 8 Trigram Palm. How is this possible? Park Laoyu coughed up 4 mouthfuls of blood before he stood up shakily. He could not believe what he saw. How can you activate the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw? Who did you learn it from? Once Lin Yi finished speaking, he did not wait for Park Laoyu to regain his footing. He used the fifth form of the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw again. This time, Park Laoyu saw Lin Yi's move clearly. Previously, he took it for granted that Lin Yi used the Frenzy Fire 8 Trigram Palm, so he did not guard against it at all. It was not until Park Huati reminded him that he realized something was wrong. But it was too late. But this time, when Lin Yi made his move, he saw it clearly. It was the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw. Although he did not know how Lin Yi learned it, the activation method and movement were exactly the same as his. Moreover, the claw had a red fire attribute True Qi, as if he was the one who activated it. Park Laoyu was shocked. Others did not know the extent of the damage that the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw could do to him. But he knew. Even if Lin Yi activated the sixth form, the damage to him was still very great. Park Laoyu could be sure that if Lin Yi continued to activate it, he would not be able to last more than 5 moves. The Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw was his nemesis. As the saying goes, everything has its weakness. Chapter 2368. Aren't you teaching me? Once you activate it, I'll learn it. Lin Yi said lightly. Thank you for activating it again. I'm even more proficient now. Go to hell. Bang! Bang! Lin Yi hit Park Laoyu, and Park Laoyu hit Lin Yi. Although Park Laoyu's skill seemed to be stronger, the damage he suffered was no less than Lin Yi. Especially when he was caught off guard by the claw just now, It was a huge blow to his body. Moreover, Lin Yi's last sentence made Park Laolu subconsciously reduce the power of the sky-splitting claw. He didn't want Lin Yi to learn it again. Now that it was very similar, wouldn't it kill him to learn it again? Both of them retreated. Lin Yi sat on the ground, and Park Laolu slammed into the wall again. Park Hwati's brows furrowed even more. The way he looked at Lin Yi changed from the initial disdain to the current seriousness. Where did this person come from? Which faction is he from? He can actually imitate other people's skills? Isn't this too heaven-defying? I've never heard of someone with this kind of ability. Park Laoyo's eyes were filled with fear at this moment. He no longer had the arrogance from before, only bewilderment. He couldn't believe it. How is this possible? Lin Yi was actually beaten badly, but he didn't show the pain on his face. This was the so-called acting tough behavior of swallowing one's teeth after being beaten. But sometimes acting tough must be done. When the enemy is confused by you, you win. This is the highest level of acting tough. Lin Yi was recovering, Park Laolu was bewildered, and Park Hwati was frowning, thinking about the pros and cons. Park Hwati originally thought that things should be easy to solve. Lin Yi retreating was the perfect solution. But the situation was completely different now. Lin Yi's 2 consecutive moves had injured Pu Laolu quite badly. If they were to continue fighting, it was hard to say who would emerge victorious. It was very likely that both of them would perish together. But, to let Pu Hwati give up on Chun-Shi just like that, he was absolutely unwilling. It wouldn't be easy to find such a good cauldron if he gave it up. There were simply too few women with such an excellent physique, who had been specially raised to be a human furnace from a young age. Pu Hwati had seen many talented girls, but because they were past the age limit, they could no longer be cultivated into cultivation furnaces. This was also the reason why he didn't want to give up on Chun-Shi, and chose to go against Lin Yi. Pu Laolu, finish him quickly. Even if you have to fight him head-on, you have to kill him. That girl is of great use to me. Pu Hwati made his decision in an instant. Even if you die, you will die for the glory of the Right Miao clan. Your ranking will be enshrined by the Right Miao clan. I will also request for your son to be accepted as a disciple when he grows up. At the very least, his status will not be lower than mine. Pu Hwati began to make empty promises to Pu Laolu. He had already given up on Pu Laolu. However, these words made Pu Laoyo's eyes light up. He had to admit that Pu Hwati's promises moved him. He knew that if he and Pu Hwati didn't hand over Chun-Shi today, Lin Yi wouldn't let the matter rest. But Pu Laolu also knew how important Chun-Shi was to Pu Hwati, so he knew that the only way was to fight. Kid, you heard it too. If you know what's good for you, leave now and we'll live in peace. If you insist on sticking your neck out, then I'll fight to the death and drag you down with me. Pu Laolu took a deep breath and said to Lin Yi. Of course, he also hoped that Lin Yi would give up and leave. That way, he wouldn't have to die in vain. Although he wasn't afraid of death for the sect, who would want to die if they could. Since I said I won't stop until one of us dies, let's continue. Lin Yi stood up and smiled at Pu Laolu. What if the one who dies in the end is you and not me? No, that's possible. Pu Ol Six vehemently rejected the idea. I have to admit that your ability to steal and learn from me is impressive. But you can't deny the fact that you're just a mid-earth class. You're just a mid-earth class. It's impossible for a martial skill to unleash the power of the 11th move. If I'm not wrong, it should only be the 6th move. And I'm an Earth-class late-phase peak master. My strength and endurance, as well as the power of my martial skills, are far greater. As for you, if we continue like this, you'll be the one to die first. Although I might also be heavily injured. Oh, what else do you have to say? Lin Yi listened and said faintly, If you're done, let's continue. At this point, Pu Laolu also knew that there was no way he could convince Lin Yi. He could only continue. Heaven-splitting fire claw 5th form. Lin Yi's injuries and stamina were almost fully recovered. He activated another heaven-splitting fire claw, going straight for Pu Laolu, catching him off guard. He didn't think that Lin Yi would attack just like that. But Pu Laolu was an Earth-class late-phase peak master after all. His reflexes weren't weak either, and he quickly channeled his practitioner's chant. He didn't even use his chi to protect his body. Instead, he poured all of his chi into his technique, activating his strongest technique, sky-splitting claw 10th form. Bam! Bam! Two loud sounds rang out. The two bodies collided and separated, flying in two different directions. Pu Laolu was severely injured. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he panted heavily. Although he had boasted before, only he knew in his heart how much damage the sky-splitting claw had inflicted on him. This martial skill was the nemesis of his external martial arts. Not to mention the fact that Lin Yi had activated the 6th form. As long as he hadn't reached Sky Class, even the 1st form would be enough to kill him. Only when he reached Sky Class would the damage from the 10 forms of Earth Class martial skills be truly negligible. Unfortunately, he wasn't a Sky Class master. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't having a good time either. After spitting out a mouthful of black blood, he gritted his teeth and silently endured it. After landing on the ground, he desperately channeled the 2nd stage of the art of dragon mastery to heal himself. He didn't say anything harsh. He just used all the time he had to heal himself. This kind of feeling made Lin Yi a little scared. If Pu Laolu didn't give Lin Yi any time to recover, then Lin Yi would only be able to take a one-sided beating. Just like when he faced the 5th guardian, he could only. Chapter 2369. From his point of view, cultivators could only use medicinal pellets to heal themselves. Otherwise, how long would it take for them to recover on their own? His injuries couldn't be healed, so he could only adjust the chaotic chi in his body, so that he could fight against Lin Yi with all his might. With that, Lin Yi was able to take advantage of the situation. Otherwise, he'd have to waste another net of heaven and earth to trap old 6. Then, while he couldn't move, he would go to the private room to save Qinshi. As for Pu Huati, Lin Yi didn't put him in his heart. From Lin Yi's point of view, Pu Huati was just a cultivator with high defense. As for whether it was a spiritual or physical cultivator, Lin Yi wasn't sure. But he definitely didn't have a strong offensive ability. Otherwise, if he and Pu Laolu worked together, even if their offensive ability wasn't that strong, it would still be enough to hold him back. Then, Pu Laolu wouldn't be in such a miserable state. But from the looks of it, it wasn't that he didn't want to, but he really couldn't help. This person only had the ability to protect himself, but he didn't have any offensive ability. Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw 5th form. Lin Yi attacked once more after recovering, continuing to fight head-on with Pu Laolu. It wasn't the first time Lin Yi used this sort of head-on fighting style anyways, and he'd mastered the rhythm and technique a long time ago. The black-clothed assassin and the 3rd head of the Red Conches had all died under Lin Yi's hands. Of course, this method of using a lower level to kill a higher level was only used by people like Lin Yi who had the art of dragon mastery. If it was someone else, they would have died already. But one had to admit that this method was tried and tested, because the enemy wouldn't expect Lin Yi to be able to recover on his own, and at such a fast speed. Bang! Bang! Another 2 loud sounds. Pu Laolu felt that his internal organs had shifted. Even those that weren't shifted started to bleed. He looked at Lin Yi with a blurry gaze. He regretted telling Lin Yi about his nemesis martial art. But who would have thought that Lin Yi could learn it secretly? Before today, Park Laolu had never dreamed of this. Without the mantra, how could he learn a martial skill in secret? This could only be treated as a joke. But now it was real. Seeing that Lin Yi had vomited a mouthful of blood, Pu Laolu was secretly pleased. Sure enough, this brat's injuries should be more serious than his. He had already spat out 2 mouthfuls of black blood. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels had already been displaced, and Lin Yi would not be any better off. Park Laolu was even more determined to kill Lin Yi, although it was possible for him to do the same. His meridians were all damaged, and his cultivation strength was crippled. However, if he could survive and return to the right Miao clan, he would be able to survive. Then sect leader Kuan would definitely let him cultivate Pu Huatiai's devil arts. This was because Pu Huatiai's devil technique was a different kind of cultivation method, which was to refine goo poison. It had nothing to do with normal cultivation, Even a disabled person could cultivate it. Thinking of this, Park Laoyo's eyes flashed with passion. Others might not know, but he knew that if Pu Huatiai's devil technique reached the advanced stage, he would be invulnerable. He would be no different from those who had reached the advanced stage of the Golden Bell Shield and Iron Shirt. Furthermore, he would not have any weak points. He would have to use the female blood to refine it regularly. This was a difficult matter, but it could be solved. In the future, Pu Huati would have the meat, and he would have the soup. The effect would be slightly weaker, but it was better than nothing. Brat, I will kill you today even if I have to risk my life. Park Laolu stood up with confidence and looked at Lin Yi. If you want to die, then come at me. Let's see who has the last laugh. Oh. Lin Yi's injuries had mostly recovered. He responded indifferently and stood up. Although his expression was calm, Lin Yi's heart was beating like a drum. Park Laoyo's confidence seemed to have been boosted. This wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi decided to change his strategy. He changed the Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw's fifth form was equivalent to the fifth form of a normal high-class technique, but it was better in that he could use 5 forms at the same time. In the beginning, Lin Yi naturally chose Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Although the fifth form of Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw was equivalent to the fifth form of a normal high-class technique, it was better in that he could use 5 forms at the same time. It could be said that if Park Laolu wasn't injured, Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw would definitely deal more damage to him than Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. This was like an early phase Mystic Class Master. If he wasn't injured, then an early phase Golden Class Master would only be able to scratch his itch. If 5 early phase Golden Class Masters were to attack him, then it would be the same. Only a peak late phase Golden Class Master might be able to cause some damage to him. But if this early phase Mystic Class Master was injured, his defense would be greatly reduced. If a late phase Golden Class Master were to attack him, he would definitely be more heavily injured. But if 5 early phase Golden Class Masters were to attack him at once, then he might very well die. This was also the reason why Lin Yi chose Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw in the first place. But now that Park Laolu was injured, Lin Yi naturally switched to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw 5th form. Lin Yi yelled as he charged forward, channeling Mu Linsen's Thousand Illusions chant, using the Sky Splitting Earth Claw's method of activation. He wanted to use the Sky Splitting Earth Claw's strongest move, but just as Lin Yi was about to use it, Lin Yi was shocked to find that Mu Linsen's Sky Splitting Earth Claw wasn't activated. Not to mention the 5th form, even the first form's power wasn't activated. In other words, Lin Yi used a useless move. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He didn't know what was going on, but he didn't dare to try it again. Without a word, he changed his move and used the 5th form of Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw at Pu Laolu. Luckily, Lin Yi's reaction was fast, and he was already familiar with this move. There was a pause in the middle, but it didn't affect the overall situation. Old Six didn't understand why Lin Yi had yelled out Mu Linsen's Sky Splitting Earth Splitting Claw, but he didn't have the time to think about it. He took a deep breath and charged forward. Since he had chosen to fight to the end, he couldn't compromise no matter what. But the price of not compromising was very heavy. Proportion. Chapter 2370. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After this fight, Pu Laolu was on the verge of collapsing. His legs were wobbly, and he had vomited too much blood. He wanted to rest, but he heard Lin Yi say, "Again." Pu Laolu was speechless. He wanted to yell at Lin Yi. "Fuck, are you a cockroach? Can't you just rest for a bit? You're an Earth class mid-phase, why aren't you dead yet? Are you even an Earth class mid-phase?" In fact, Lin Yi had indeed rested for a while. He needed to heal his wounds. But this period of time seemed long to Lin Yi. But to Pu Laolu, it was very short. His wounds were getting worse and worse. And Lin Yi's wounds were getting worse and worse. but he was still able to hold on. Of course, Lin Yi could tell that if this went on, he would be done for. But before he was done for, Pu Laolu would be done for. As long as he was done for, Lin Yi could rest in peace and heal his wounds. Left with no choice, Pu Laolu could only attack again. But he was already at his limit. He knew that this would be his last attack. If he got hit by Lin Yi again, he wouldn't be able to live. And so, he used up all the qi in his body, wanting to give Lin Yi a killing blow. Sky-splitting Earth Claw 10th form. Sky-splitting Claw 5th form. Lin Yi really wanted to use the 5th form of Mu Linsun's Sky-splitting Earth-splitting Claw. But it had failed. So Lin Yi didn't dare to try again. What if he failed again? Right now, Lin Yi had lost the confidence he had in his omnipotent martial skill. After all, he had failed to use Spring Rain before. It wasn't surprising that Mu Linsun's Sky-splitting Claw would fail. But Lin Yi was a little puzzled. He couldn't figure out the reason. Bam! Bam! This attack was indeed fatal to Lin Yi. Lin Yi was injured again. Even though he was healing, he couldn't keep up with his injuries. After being sent flying by Pu Laolu, he landed heavily on the ground. He didn't even have the strength to get up. The reason why Lin Yi was able to fight again was because of his will. That was the only reason why he was able to hold on until now. But Lin Yi smiled. Park Laoyo's situation wasn't looking good. Lin Yi was a doctor, and he could easily tell that Park Laoyo's life was slipping away. He was going to die soon. So Lin Yi started to use the art of dragon mastery to heal himself. He didn't even have the strength to sit up. Pu Huati looked at Pu Laoyo's body. A complicated look flashed in his eyes. Even though he didn't care about a bodyguard like Pu Laolu, he was someone who had followed him for a long time. This time he killed Lin Yi. He had to leave. He couldn't fight Zhu Qisho anymore. He was afraid that the power behind Lin Yi would come looking for him. Thinking of this, Pu Huati quickly walked into the private room. He picked up the unconscious Chun Shi and quickly walked out of the private room. He didn't even want Pu Laoyo's body. A dead person was like a lamp going out. To him, death was death. When he went back, he would advise his father and master to take good care of his son. That would be enough to make up for this debt. Even though Lin Yi was lying on the ground in the space of the jade pendant to heal himself, he could still sense what was happening outside. Seeing that Pu Huati didn't forget to take Qinshi away at this time, he was shocked and angry. Originally, Lin Yi thought that after he killed Pu Laolu, Pu Huati would definitely choose to retreat and leave with Pu Laoyo's body. But Lin Yi didn't expect that this guy didn't even want Pu Laoyo's body. Instead, he took Qinshi away. This was unbelievable to Lin Yi. This guy can't be this lecherous, can he? In this situation, he still didn't forget to take Qinshi away. What kind of person is this? However, even if Lin Yi wanted to stop him, his injuries were too severe. He couldn't get up at all. Moreover, even if Lin Yi stood up, he might not be able to stop him, because Pu Huati was simply invulnerable. If Lin Yi wanted to deal with him, it would be more difficult than Pu Laolu. Pu Laolu Lin Yi could use the Mad Fire Earth-splitting Claw to deal with him. But Pu Huati was different. This guy wasn't afraid of being hit. Even if Lin Yi hit him, it would be useless. Seeing that Pu Huati was about to walk out of the room, Lin Yi suddenly became anxious. He didn't care about his injuries anymore. He climbed up from the ground and shouted at Pu Huati. Stop! Pu Huati was shocked by Lin Yi's roar. Previously, he thought that Lin Yi and Pu Laolu should have perished together. After all, both of them were lying on the ground motionless. Pu Huati subconsciously thought that both of them were dead. How could he have thought that Lin Yi came back to life and stood up again? You didn't die? Pu Huati was shocked. He turned his head and looked at Lin Yi, who was trembling as he stood up. Pu Huati then smiled. You're just a strong arrow. What can you do to me? Although you should have guessed that I don't have any offensive martial skills, you absolutely can't stop me from leaving. Because my defense is very strong. You can't kill me. You didn't die. That's not bad. I'll leave first. See you again. In Pu Huati's view, if Lin Yi didn't die, then the sect behind Lin Yi wouldn't be too angry. He also knew that these big sects in China had some top-quality third-grade Dawn. As long as there were Dawn, He believed that Lin Yi's recovery was only a matter of time. The sect behind him wouldn't travel all the way to Southeast Asia to find trouble with him. Although Lin Yi was unwilling, he had no choice but to admit that what Pu Huati said was the truth, because at this moment he really could not win against Pu Huati. This person was invulnerable, just like those external martial artists who practiced the golden bell cover and iron skin shirt. If Lin Yi wanted to make him stay, it was impossible without a true Qi bomb. However, in Lin Yi's current state, it was already very difficult for him to heal his wounds. How could there be a true Qi bomb to deal with him? Therefore, Lin Yi was helpless and anxious, but there was nothing he could do. His injuries hadn't healed yet, so he had to brace himself and fight. Frenzied Flame Heaven Splitting Earth Splitting Claw, 5th move. Lin Yi didn't know if the Frenzy Fire Heaven Splitting Earth Claw would be effective against Pu Huati, but he knew that the 5th form of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm didn't cause any damage to Pu Huati, so he could only try the Frenzy Fire Heaven Splitting Earth Claw. When Pu Huati saw that Lin Yi still dared to attack, he was instantly angered. He frowned and activated some unknown cultivation technique. You won't repent until you see the coffin. The fastest update, please bookmark. Chapter 2371. Bam! Lin Yi sensed that something was amiss as Pu Huati seemed to be using some unknown practitioner's arts, but it didn't look like one either. It was like he was activating something, and his skin glowed with a metallic light. Lin Yi's heaven-splitting earth-splitting claw hit Pu Huati's body, but it was as if he'd hit a piece of metal. The recoil was so painful that Lin Yi's claw felt like it was about to break. Plus, he'd used up every last bit of strength he had in that claw attack, and it hadn't hurt Pu Huati in the slightest. Lin Yi couldn't stop Pu Huati from leaving anymore. Lin Yi's head was spinning, and he was about to faint from being forced into the jade space. But at that moment, the door was pushed open, and Elder Pai came charging in with Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, Wu Qintian, and Wu Gonggao. Leave him, Lin Yi said as he looked at the 5 people who had barged into the room. His heart was filled with comfort as he fainted. Elder Pai, Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, Wu Qintian, and Wu Gonggao were shocked when they saw Lin Yi faint. But they didn't go check on Lin Yi's injuries, instead activating their strongest skills at the same time, attacking Pu Huati. 11th form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Elder Pai roared, sending a punch at Pu Huati. First form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Jishan, Qintian, and Gonggao all used the first form of Heaven and Earth Fist they'd been practicing for the past 2 days. Second form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Jihai, on the other hand, could use the second form of Heaven and Earth Fist. They used their strongest moves right from the get-go, and they saw that Lin Yi had fainted. Naturally, they wouldn't hold back anymore. Lin Yi's order was to keep this guy here, so they had to go all out. Pu Huati didn't expect that Lin Yi's helpers would come, and there were even 5 of them. However, he wasn't nervous. He didn't believe that ordinary cultivators could do anything to him. So he continued to activate the demonic goo poison, making his body invulnerable. Bang! 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 After 5 loud bangs, Pu Huati was met with tragedy. His head was broken, his chest was flattened, and there was not a single intact bone in his body. The strongest external attacker. Pu Huati finally realized that his death was not unjust. The 5 people who came in later were all physical experts. Moreover, they were all trained physical experts. Their attack power was extremely strong, and coupled with their godly martial skills, it was not an injustice to kill him. Although he trained in demonic arts and had the goo poison on him, he hadn't mastered it yet. Right now, normal sky class early to mid-phase spiritual practitioners couldn't do anything to him. But that didn't mean that these physical practitioners were useless against him. Spiritual practitioners used qi to hurt the enemy, and physical practitioners used the body to hurt the enemy. The two seemed to have similar destructive power, but spiritual qi couldn't penetrate Pu Huati's body. Iron fists, on the other hand, were different. This was what they meant by, there's always a counter to another. Even one of them was enough to injure him. Not to mention 5 at the same time. This was simply an instant kill. But before he died, he just couldn't figure out why 5 refined external martial arts experts had suddenly appeared. After killing Pu Huati, Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai quickly ran to Lin Yi. "Boss, how are you?" "Boss should be fine." Chen Tian knew Lin Yi quite well, and he knew that Lin Yi could recover on his own, so he was quite shocked. He waved his hand at the two. "Don't worry, just wait patiently and guard this place. Don't let anyone disturb us." "Okay," Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai replied. "Chen Tian, my friend, this body. There's another body over there." Elder Pai paused, only realizing that there was another body in the room. No wonder Lin Yi was so heavily injured. He was thinking that there was nothing special about killing that person. Just a few people working together to kill him in one hit. Lin Yi shouldn't be so heavily injured. It seemed like Lin Yi had gotten injured while fighting with the others. "Don't worry about it for now." Chen Tian waved his hand as he looked at Chen Shi on the ground. She couldn't be his sister-in-law, could she? She looked a little young, like a high schooler. But Chen Tian didn't dare tarry. He carefully lifted Chen Shi and put her on the sofa, untying her hands and feet. Old Pai and Old Wu nodded. They were older, but they still followed Chen Tian's orders. After all, Chen Tian had been with Lin Yi for the longest time. "All right then, what should we?" Elder Pai asked. "Go find the boss here and ask him what's going on." Chen Tian knew that he couldn't disturb Lin Yi, but if something happened to Lin Yi, the boss would definitely be blamed. He might even know what happened, so the best thing to do was to ask him what happened. "All right, I'll do it." Elder Pai nodded. His admiration for Lin Yi was unparalleled. At first, he served Lin Yi because Lin Yi helped Pai Jihai heal. But now, after seeing Lin Yi's power, especially after Lin Yi leveled him up to a master of both internal and external cultivation, his gratitude towards Lin Yi turned into admiration and worship. The world of cultivation was a world where the strong ruled. Elder Pai knew this, especially after seeing the potential and strength that Lin Yi had shown. He knew that if he followed Lin Yi closely, the Hidden House Pai's path would not only stop at the Hidden Noble House level, they might even become an ancient noble house. As long as he, Pai Jishan, and Pai Jihai all became heaven-ranked masters, who cultivated both internal and external cultivation, the Holy Fist Palace would be the first to support them and support House Pai to become an ancient aristocratic family in the ancient level meeting. Then, Old Master Pai stood up and walked out of the room. There was no one around the room, but at the end of the corridor, there was a waiter who was looking at the situation with shifty eyes. "You come here." Old Pai pointed at the waiter. Excuse me, sir. What can I do for you?" The waiter was startled and asked carefully in a panic. "Where's your boss?" Old Pai asked. "Our boss? Excuse me, what can I do for you?" The waiter asked in a trembling voice. "Tell him to appear in front of me in 1 minute, or else I'll smash his place." Old Man Pai was the head of a family. He was usually very dignified, but now that he was Lin Yi's subordinate, he naturally became an arrogant little brother. The fastest update, please bookmark. Chapter 2372. Ugh. Please wait. The waiter saw Elder Pai walk out of the Sky Room 1, and Gambling Bro had specifically asked him to check the room carefully and report back if anything happened. The waiter didn't dare to delay, so he relayed Elder Pai's request to Gambling Bro. "Boss, someone wants to see you. The person who came out of the Sky Room 1. He said that if you don't show up in a minute, he'll destroy our place." "Oh." Gamble Bro frowned, displeased at the arrogance of the newcomer. But thinking back to the Earth-class strength that Lin Yi and Pu Laolu had displayed in the room, he knew that he, a mere golden-class late-phase peak, was no match for them at all. He couldn't fight against the person who came out of the room, whether it was Lin Yi or Pu Laolu. He thought about it and said, "Okay, I'll go now." Within a minute, Gambling Bro appeared in front of Elder Pai. "I'm the boss here. People call me Gambling Bro. Who's looking for me?" Gambling Bro looked around, but he didn't see Lin Yi, Pu Laolu, and Pu Huati. He wasn't that scared anymore, so he looked at Elder Pai and said calmly, "What's going on in that room?" Elder Pie pointed at the sky room one not far away. Who are you? Gambling Bro asked. You're not going to tell me? Old Man Pie furrowed his brows, a little annoyed. This boss didn't know how to appreciate favors. He casually clenched his fist, and with a punch, a bronze statue in the hallway was smashed into pieces. This was the most effective way. Old Pie didn't know that Gambling Bro was a practitioner, so he didn't bother to explain anything about sky-class masters or hidden houses. From Old Pie's point of view, Gambling Bro didn't know much about these higher-level things. He was just a casino owner who had a good reputation in the underworld. So, Old Man Pie smashed the statue with one punch to shock Bro Gamble. But Gamble Bro's eyes showed shock. He was a cultivator, and although he was only at the peak late phase of Golden Class, he could see the depth of Old Pie's strength. Old Pie was a Sky Class early phase master. This made Gambling Bro's legs go soft, and he almost knelt down. Senior. I had eyes but failed to recognize MT Tai. So Senior is a heaven rank initial phase expert. If you have anything to say, please don't hesitate to tell me. I, Gambling Bro, will tell you everything I know. Humph. Old Pie snorted, a little surprised. You're a cultivator too? I'm just a master at the peak of the late phase of the Golden Class. Gambling Bro cupped his fist and said carefully. Oh, then come with me. Tell me clearly what happened in this box. Old Man Pie heard that Gambling Bro was also a cultivator. It saved him a lot of trouble. At least he didn't have to threaten him. He would cooperate obediently. Yes. Gambling Bro didn't dare to delay at all. He nodded, but he was shocked. His little casino had such a master? Sky Class. That was a legendary existence, and he didn't expect to see one with his own eyes. Gambling Bro followed Old Pie back to the box, and what he saw shocked him. Pu Huati was dead. Pu Lalu was dead, and Lenny seemed to be dead as well. Which side were these people from? Could it be the Hidden House Zhao? That's right. I heard that the Hidden Zhao family's old master Zhao is a heaven rank expert. It seems like the 5 people in front of me are from a third party. Gambling Brother heaved a sigh of relief and probed. Senior is the Hidden Zhao family's old master Zhao? You know about the Hidden House Zhao? Old Pie frowned. I'm not from House Zhao. Don't try to use connections. Tell me everything you know. This? Yes. Brother Gamble was slightly taken aback. From the looks of it, this person in front of him really wasn't from the Hidden Zhao family. Moreover, from his tone, he didn't seem to be very respectful towards the Hidden Zhao family. Hence, he didn't dare to have any more suspicions, and hurriedly explained everything that had happened here. Actually, this had nothing to do with him. He invited Southeast Asia's king of gambling, Pu Huati, to fight Hong Kong's king of gambling, Zhu Qishou. The reason was very simple. In the past, Zhu Qishou had come to the casino to wreak havoc, causing Gambling Bro to suffer heavy losses. Zhu Qishou had killed all the consultants in Gambling Bro's casino, causing him to suffer a crushing defeat. Therefore, Gambling Bro was unwilling to accept this outcome. Coincidentally, he heard of Park Huati's name and invited him to challenge Zhu Qishou. Pu Huati wanted to win the girl's virginity through gambling, and Gambling Bro wanted to revive the casino's reputation and also to rub down Zhu Qishou's spirit. So the two of them hit it off. But in the end, the two of them were in a cooperative relationship, and there was no other relationship. Pu Huati's opponent this time was the Hidden House Zhao, and the Hidden House Zhao's people seemed to want to lose to Pu Huati on purpose. They made Chun Shi lose to Pu Huati. Not only that, but they also asked Gambling Bro to inform the security on the first and second floor, so that Lenny could come over smoothly. Anyway, Gambling Bro didn't dare to hide anything. The person in front of him was a heaven class master. He even dared to betray the Hidden House Zhao, so he didn't dare to lie. He was a practitioner at the lowest level. If Old Pie wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Oh, you mean, the Hidden House Zhao wanted to make this girl lose to Pu Huati on purpose, and then lure Mr. Lin here to save her? Old Pie understood what Gambling Bro meant. Ugh, it should be like this. Gambling Bro said carefully. I understand. Okay, you can leave first. There's nothing for you to do here. Old Pie waved his hand and said to Gambling Bro, This matter really didn't have much to do with gambling bro. So Old Pi wouldn't vent his anger on him. He was just a small character. The hidden house Zhao was behind all of this. Everything would have to wait for Lin Yi to wake up. And then let Lin Yi make the decision. Okay, senior, if there's anything, you can find me anytime. Gambling bro said carefully. Okay. Old Pi snorted, and no longer cared about gambling bro. In his eyes, this kind of person was just an ant. He directly kicked him out, so that he wouldn't disturb Lin Yi's recovery. Although Lin Yi seemed to be unconscious, he was actually healing inside the space of the jade pendant. He could still clearly sense everything that happened outside. Hearing the conversation between Old Pi and gambling bro, Lin Yi's hatred towards the hidden house Zhao increased a bit. Chapter 2373. Capturing Chun Shi to give to Pu Huati. Trying to get past Pu Huati to get rid of him. Poor Pu Huati, on the other hand, didn't do anything wrong. It was his stubbornness, refusing to let go. If he had given up on Chun Shi, he wouldn't have been killed by Elder Pai and the others. But it was also because of his bad luck and strength. If it weren't for Elder Pai and the others, Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to stop him today. It was a close shave. Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't let it go just like that. The hidden house Zhao, huh? He'll remember this. Zhao Qikuan, Elder Pai and the others. He'll get Zhao Qikuan to deal with you guys later. On the first floor of the casino, Yushu was playing happily. Oh, I'm genius Shu, I won again. Yushu looked at the combination of patterns on the screen and jumped up and down with her fists raised. Shu, does this count as cheating? Mengyao was a little worried. After all, Yushu was the one who figured out the pattern of the slot tiger, and she was basically winning every round. In just a short while, Shu had already won more than 5 million in chips. If this continued, wouldn't the casino lose money? Would there be people coming to cause trouble? Cheating? We didn't cheat, we just figured out the pattern. How is that cheating? Yushu shook her head. It's fine, this is a big casino, can't we afford to lose money? If we can't, our reputation will be ruined. You're right. Mengyao looked at the customers and nodded. If someone really came to stop her and Shu from winning, then the casino's reputation would be ruined. There were a lot of rich people in Donghai, and there were many big bosses who could afford to lose. However, they could lose money, but they would never allow people to say that they cheated when they were winning. Can't afford to win? Who would come to play then? Of course, under normal circumstances, the casino wouldn't do such a self-destructive thing. However, it wasn't like no one noticed Shu's continuous winnings. In the casino's surveillance room, there were people who had noticed this a long time ago. When they switched the image to Yushu, they realized that Yushu wasn't cheating at all. It wasn't easy to cheat at a slot machine like this, but it seemed like she had grasped some sort of calculation pattern. However, it wasn't that the casino didn't have any countermeasures. These slot machines were all connected to the internet. As long as they tampered with the control room, they could force the machine's program to not operate according to the conventional calculation method. The final result of human interference was a very simple matter. As a result, Yushu started losing after the surveillance team tampered with her slot machine, and she didn't even manage to win a single round. After all, no matter what she bet on, the people in the surveillance room would interfere with the result, and it'd be fine if the result didn't match Yushu's bet. Why isn't it working? Yushu looked at the slot machine in front of her strangely. She realized that her calculations weren't working. Logically speaking, it wasn't possible. She calculated it based on the results of the slot machine many times. Alright Shu, that's enough. No one can keep winning. Let's just play for a bit. Mengyao didn't know why Yushu's calculations weren't working, but she wasn't very interested in betting on the slot machine. No, there must be something wrong with this machine. I'll try another one. With that, Yushu walked over to another machine with a big box of chips in her hands, starting a new bet. As expected this time, according to Yushu's calculations, the result was exactly the same. Yushu let out a yay and started betting again with confidence. However, this time the result was tragic. The result was different from her calculations. Why isn't it working again? Yushu frowned a little unhappy. Theoretically speaking, if the first calculation was correct, then the next one should work as well. But it just didn't work. Yushu switched to another machine, and it worked the first time. But it didn't work the second time. She was a little puzzled. In the surveillance room, the person in charge of the surveillance frowned as well. If Yushu played like this, she could really win once or twice if she switched to a different machine every time. After all, he still needed some time to get the control of the terminal machine. However, Yushu didn't plan to switch to another machine, and the person in charge breathed a sigh of relief. Yushu started studying the machine again, but no matter how she studied or what she bet on, the result would always be different. This result was the result of the person in charge of the surveillance, and Yushu couldn't calculate the pattern at all. What's going on? Yushu panicked as the chips in front of her decreased. She stopped studying the machine's pattern and started studying the machine itself. She walked around the machine, and her eyes lit up. There was an internet cable at the back of the machine, and there was an internet cable inserted into it. The data exchange light of the internet cable was blinking. However, only this machine's data exchange light was blinking very frequently. The other tiger bashers didn't flicker this much. Evidently, the tiger pheasant was constantly exchanging data with the server's server. Yushu had learned something like this in her school's computer class, and so she understood the reason why she was losing money right away. Her tiger basher was probably targeted by the person in charge of the server. No matter what she bet, the other side would interfere. Naturally, it was impossible for her to win money. Yushu was angry at the thought. She came here to gamble, and she didn't cheat. How dare they interfere? Wasn't this a little too petty? Yushu pulled out the internet cable and continued to bet with a smile on her face. As expected, the result was the same as the display. As expected, Yushu decided to place a higher bet this time. Very quickly, the chips in front of her went from a pitiful 2 million to more than 10 million. At this moment, the surveillance room was in chaos. The person in charge of the surveillance realized that he had lost connection with Yushu's tiger basher. He couldn't control the machine from the terminal, but from the surveillance footage, the tiger basher was still working normally, spitting out large amounts of chips. Chapter 2374. He'd been too focused on Yushu's screen that he hadn't seen her pull out the cable, and so he'd assumed that it was just a problem with the cable. He was sweating profusely from the panic. But he was a professional, after all, and after checking for a long time, he realized that all the other machines were working, except for Yushu's machine. He quickly called the boss of the casino, "Casino bro," out of nervousness. "Gamble bro, bad news. There's a problem with one of the slot machines," the man said urgently. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Gamble bro had just left the Sky Room 1 and was still in shock. He didn't think that it was a big deal when he heard that there was a problem with the slot machine. "Can't you get someone to fix it if there's a problem? It's just a slot machine." "No, Gamble bro, it's like this. Someone calculated the pattern of the slot machine," the man explained quickly and told Gamble bro about Yushu's situation. He then said with a sad face, "Now the slot machine suddenly stopped working, and I can't change the results of her bets. The machine has already spat out tens of millions of chips, and if this continues, we'll lose our money." "What? Why didn't you say so earlier?" "Motherfucker, I'll bring someone over right now." Gamble bro sweated when he heard that the slot machine had spat out tens of millions of chips. He quickly called a few security guards over to the surveillance room. Gambler bro, on the other hand, frowned when he saw Yushu continue to win money in the video. Gamble bro had been in this casino for many years, and he could tell with one look that Yushu wasn't cheating. She had an extremely high IQ, and had used some kind of exquisite calculation method to calculate the results of the slot machine. But this type of person was also the hardest to deal with in the casino, because there was no way to find any evidence of her cheating. Usually, when someone like this appeared, the casino would take measures to interfere with the results of the slot machine. forcing the expert to back off. If it was a bet with someone else, the casino would hire a gambling consultant to watch the fight. As for Zhu Qishou, he had also come to challenge the casino. Not only did he win against the casino's gambling consultant, but he also won 20 million yuan from Gambling Bro. Although he only got 10 million after the incident, it made Gambling Bro very sullen and disgraced him. After all, Zhu Qishou was the famous king of gamblers in Harbor City. He even had a mystic stage master as his bodyguard. Brother Zhu Qishou didn't dare to use force. Asking for 10 million was already giving him a lot of face. Of course, this was also because Zhu Qishou was an insider and knew to leave some leeway when doing things. This time, Gambling Bro had invited Pu Huati to challenge Zhu Qishou in order to wash away his shame. He didn't expect that Pu Huati would be killed before he could even fight. Let's go take a look. Gambling Bro looked at the two youthful and beautiful gambling experts on the screen. He was a little confused. Where did these two people come from? If he was the gambling king, why hadn't he heard of him before? But no matter what, Brother Gamble couldn't let her continue to win. If this continued, he would go bankrupt. Because of his daughter's kidnapping, he was blackmailed out of 20 million. Seeing that Yushu was about to win 20 million, he wanted to die. With a few security guards in tow, Gambling Bro went straight to Yushu's slot machine on the first floor. Yay! I won again! My chips are over 20 million. Yushu cried out in joy. Ahem. Shu, we might be in trouble. Mengyao frowned as she reminded Yushu, as she looked at the aggressive security guards surrounding them. But Mengyao wasn't too worried. If worst comes to worst, they could just give up the chips and take back the money they lost. The casino wanted money, and with so many customers around, they couldn't be violent. Oh! Yushu stopped her bet and looked around. She frowned as well. Beautiful miss, let me introduce myself. I'm the owner of this casino. People call me Gambling Bro. Gambling Bro said directly, the slot machine in front of you has a malfunction, causing the system to malfunction. It's spitting out chips non-stop, but these don't count. Yushu hesitated. She was usually arrogant and fearless because of Lin Yi, but Lin Yi wasn't there. She wasn't an idiot, and naturally, she wouldn't start a fight with this many security guards. But Yushu's eyes lit up as she said arrogantly, Gambling Bro? You're saying that you can't pay up. So you're trying to find an excuse to say that the slot machine is broken? Miss, if that's how you want to interpret it, then there's nothing I can do. Gambling Bro said faintly with a shrug. But to make up for your losses, I've given each of you a 1 million yuan red packet. Take it and leave. 2 million? Do you think I'm a beggar? I won 20 million. Yushu didn't let it go. Shu. Mengyao pulled on Shu's arm, signaling her not to overdo it. Relax, Yao Yao, Shield Bros here. Yushu whispered into Mengyao's ear. Oh. Mengyao smiled bitterly. No wonder Shu was so stubborn. She had someone to back her up. Lin Yi was worried about Mengyao and Yushu, and this wasn't the best place to recover his qi. Lin Yi stood up after healing his organs and meridians. As for the qi he'd lost and the other injuries, Lin Yi planned to recover slowly when he got back. Boss, are you alright? Chen Tian had been paying attention to Lin Yi the whole time. He asked when Lin Yi stood up. Boss. Jishan and Jihai looked at Lin Yi concerned. Haha, I'm fine. Lin Yi nodded and stretched his body. Let's go. Thank you for coming in time and keeping Pu Huati here. This is Pu Huati. Chen Tian asked as he looked at the corpse on the ground. You know Pu Huati? Lin Yi was surprised. Southeast Asia's gambling king. I heard he came to Donghai recently. I didn't expect him to be killed by us. Chen Tian said casually. Right, boss. The boss from before is here. After all, the forces in Southeast Asia were too far away for Chen Tian. No matter what, they wouldn't come looking for trouble on a large scale. Even if Pu Huati's sect was pissed, there was nothing they could do. Chapter 2375. With that, Lin Yi walked over to Chen Shi's sofa to check on her. But very quickly, Lin Yi calmed down. Chun-Shi was just drugged with sleeping pills and fainted, nothing serious. Lin-Yi carried Chun-Shi and nodded to Old Pai and the others, indicating that they could leave together. Lin-Yi was carrying a girl, the front of his shirt covered in blood, and behind him were 5 bodyguards. It was a strange combination, but the security guards all lowered their heads, not daring to look at Lin-Yi and the others. This was probably the result of Gamble Bro's warning. Naturally, Gamble Bro didn't want to offend this group of people. Any one of them could tear his casino apart. And so Gamble Bro had told the security guards not to do anything. When they reached the first floor, Lin-Yi raised an eyebrow when he saw Gamble Bro and a group of security guards surrounding Ming Yao and Yushu. Lin-Yi didn't think that Ming Yao and Yushu would be in trouble. After all, he was here to cause trouble, and no one should be able to link it to Ming Yao and Yushu. Could it be that Gamble Bro saw the recording? But that couldn't be. If Gamble Bro knew how powerful they were, why would he dare to make things difficult for them? But when Lin-Yi walked closer and heard the conversation between Yushu and Gamble Bro, he understood immediately. So Yushu won some money, and Gamble Bro didn't want to honor his winnings. This made Lin-Yi think that Gamble Bro was looking for a beating. How much did Yushu win for Gamble Bro to show up personally? Miss, I, Gamble Bro, run a casino and naturally, I have the capital to do so. We welcome customers to come here to win money. But do you think you could win that much with 20 million chips in front of you, by playing a slot machine? Gamble Bro knew that Yushu had noticed the pattern, but he didn't say so. Instead, he blamed it on the machine malfunctioning. Other customers, take a look. Has anyone won more than 20 million with this slot machine? As soon as Brother Gamble said that, the customers who had some doubts about his behavior now understood a little. Indeed, those who had played slot machines before knew that it was possible to win a small amount of money with this thing. But to win a lot of money, especially more than 20 million in one go, was that even possible? It was possible that the slot machine had malfunctioned. Therefore, no one doubted Brother Gamble's words this time. Instead, they felt that Brother Gamble was very benevolent. Logically speaking, if the machine malfunctioned, the chips that they won would be considered invalid. However, Brother Gamble actually took out 2 million as compensation. It was not bad. You know very well whether you can win or not. Yushu said, ignoring Gamble Bro. She waved at someone not far away. Shield Bro. There are people surrounding Shu and Yao Yao sis, come and save us. Lin-Yi smiled bitterly and touched his nose, but he still walked towards the crowd. However, when he saw Lin-Yi walking over, Gamble Bro felt as if he was shocked by a high-voltage electricity. His whole body was like a wooden chicken. There were 2 reasons why he was shocked. First, wasn't Lin-Yi dead? How did he come back to life? Second, behind Lin-Yi, there was Old Pai and a group of people. These people were following behind Lin-Yi. They seemed like Lin-Yi's follower. This way, Lin-Yi stood out. But Gamble Bro was even more afraid. Because Yushu called out Lin-Yi. This person just killed Pu Huati and Pu Laolu. He also had a sky-class follower. This person was unimaginably strong. He couldn't defend him even if he was beaten to death. Gamble Bro wanted to cry. Was money more important or his life more important? If he knew that this girl in front of him was under this guy, he wouldn't have come down to cause trouble. He saw that Lin-Yi even dared to kill the hidden house Zhao and Pu Huati. It was obvious that killing Gamble Bro wasn't difficult at all. Is the machine broken? Lin-Yi walked over and looked at Gamble Bro. He asked faintly, Old Pai, can you fix it for him? Ugh, it's not broken. There's no need to fix it. Gamble Bro saw Old Pai take a step forward and walked over. He was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Sky Class. Asking a Sky Class to fix his machine? It was more like fixing his Gamble Bro. If he still couldn't hear the displeasure in Lin-Yi's words, then he would have wasted all his time in this world. If it's not broken, then what are you doing here? Lin-Yi asked back. Ugh. Right, I saw that this lady won a lot of money. I was afraid that someone might rob her. So I brought some security guards to protect her. That's it. Brother Gamble had an idea and quickly said, Is that so? Lin-Yi naturally knew that Gamble Bro was talking nonsense. Of course, miss, you can continue to play. Gamble Bro's heart was bleeding. If he continued to play, He would go bankrupt. Forget it, it's boring. Shield bro, you seem to be hurt? Are you alright? Yushu said, not interested in playing anymore after seeing Linny covered in blood. I'm fine. Let's go home if we don't want to. Linny didn't want to stay in the casino any longer. He wanted to go back and recover his chi as soon as possible. Oh okay. Yushu too could tell that Lin Yi's injuries weren't light. She stopped playing and turned to Gamble Bro. Convert the chips to cash and transfer them to me. Gamble Bro couldn't help but smile bitterly. Miss, our casino doesn't have that much cash right now. Can you give us a few more days? Gamble Bro's arrogance was gone, and he was now careful. This made the bystanders look at him with disdain. They all understood that Gamble Bro was just a bully before. And now he was afraid of these people. He didn't dare argue with them anymore, and could only cash out his chips. But it seemed like he was still trying to cheat. No money. A casino as big as yours doesn't even have 20 million in cash? Yushu naturally didn't believe it. I'm not going to hide it from you. My daughter was kidnapped, and I was extorted 20 million yuan by the kidnappers. I really can't come up with so much money in a short time. Do you think you can give me a month? 1 month is enough. Gamble Bro said helplessly. Why was he so unlucky recently? First his daughter was kidnapped, and now he offended a bunch of practitioners, including a sky class. Alright, how much money do you have now? Transfer it to me first. Linny believed Gamble Bro's words. He had just seen someone get kidnapped, and Lingshan was also solving the case, so Linny didn't force him. I have 5 or 6 million now, Gamble Bro said gratefully. Then transfer this first. You can give me the rest when you have money, Linny said. Chapter 2376. Okay. Gambling Bro replied quickly. Linny nodded and left the casino with Mingyao, Yushu and Elder Pai. Gambling Bro let out a breath of relief. But what gave him a headache was what to do with Pu Huati and Pu Laoyo's corpses. How was he going to explain this to Pu Huati's right Miao clan? Gambling Bro's head pounded at the thought. What an unlucky year. After Linny got home, he locked himself in his room and entered the jade space, quickly healing the remaining injuries in his body. The pure chi from heaven and earth surged into his body, and through the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it quickly healed Lin Yi's injured meridians and organs. The injuries this time were very serious, even more serious than when he fought against the bodyguard. When he fought against the bodyguard, Lin Yi wasn't forced into the jade space, but this time, Lin Yi's injuries couldn't be any more serious, and he was forcefully pulled in by the jade space. Just like when he saved Guan Xian, it was an involuntary situation. It was a good thing that the art of dragon mastery could heal the meridians very quickly, so he wasn't too worried. Outside the villa's living room, Mingyao and Yushu were listening to Chuntian's recount of what happened in the room. Of course, most of it was from Gambling Bro and Elder Pai, and he didn't see it with his own eyes. He didn't see the dangerous fight between Lin Yi, Pu Huati, and Pu Laolu either, so Gambling Bro didn't know what happened. He only knew the cause and the result, but he didn't know what happened. Even so, Mingyao and Yushu were shaken to the core. They didn't think that their random trip to the casino would turn out to be the right decision. Saving Chen Shi. Mingyao and Yushu weren't too familiar with Chen Shi, but they weren't strangers either. They heard that Hidden House Zhao had given her to Pu Huati as a hostage to lure Lin Yi. Both of them were furious. Yao sis, this Hidden House Zhao is too evil. They want to get someone else to do their dirty work. Shu cursed Zhao Guangyin and Zhao Qibing to be struck by lightning, Yushu said angrily. It's all in the past. Shu, don't worry about it. Lin Yi will take care of it. Mingyao was calmer. Lin Yi was dealing with the Hidden House Zhao. Perhaps he would have to make a move sooner or later, but now was definitely not the time. In the room, Lin Yi's injuries were mostly healed, and he was replenishing the true qi in his body. Soon, the pure spiritual qi in the jade space was converted into true qi by the art of dragon mastery, flowing into Lin Yi's meridians, and finally into his dantian. Gradually, The true energy within Lin Yi's body was becoming more and more abundant. However, it showed no signs of stopping as it continued to grow. This feeling immediately made Lin Yi happy. This feeling was all too familiar to Lin Yi. This was the sign before every breakthrough. This feeling was the sign of touching the barrier of the level. Lin Yi didn't dare to be careless at this moment. He gathered his thoughts and focused again, speeding up the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, using it as an opportunity to break through. The pure spiritual qi flowed into Lin Yi's meridians, through his meridians, through Lin Yi's meridians. Under the conversion of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it turned into waves of true qi, circulating in Lin Yi's meridians. It was about to fill his entire body. Lin Yi, on the other hand, gritted his teeth and continued to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. He continued to absorb the pure spiritual qi of heaven and earth. He wanted to break through the barrier in one go. However, it didn't last long. Lin Yi clenched his teeth and persisted for about 15 minutes. The energy was no longer absorbed into his body. No matter how Lin Yi used the chant, he couldn't absorb any more true qi. Sigh. Lin Yi sighed. He knew he couldn't do it anymore. He could only stop and let out a light sigh, feeling a little regretful. This time he was injured, healed, and recovered his true qi. It was a very good opportunity to break through the barrier. Lin Yi had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, but in the end he still failed. However, Lin Yi didn't want to give up this golden opportunity. After a short rest, he began to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery again, trying to break through for the second time. This time, Lin Yi used a more extreme method, using the method of absorbing and compressing energy to break through. Since the normal method of breaking through did not work, then Lin Yi could only try to break through by force. Thus, Lin Yi used the art of dragon mastery, gathering all the energy in the space of the jade pendant around him, and began to compress the energy around him. This was a last resort. Lin Yi didn't want to give up just like that, so he could only try to break through by force. Not far away, Jiao Lao looked at Lin Yi and shook his head. He was already somewhat indifferent to Lin Yi's madness. From his point of view, as long as Lin Yi didn't die, it was fine. The pain was also self-inflicted. He was already used to it. Hoo! Lin Yi took a deep breath and absorbed the compressed energy into his body. In an instant, Lin Yi's face suddenly turned red, showing an unhealthy expression. The compressed energy in Lin Yi's body was released in an instant. Lin Yi only felt like he was a balloon that was about to burst. His whole body was like a balloon, bulging up and down uncomfortably. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels felt like they were compressed together, squeezed to the point where there was no space at all. Ah! Lin Yi screamed in agony as beads of sweat rolled down his determined face. He couldn't help but scream in agony, as he felt like he was about to explode from the excruciating pain. Finally, Lin Yi couldn't take it anymore. Pfft! He spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body felt like it was about to explode, and there was a boom in his head. However, what Lin Yi couldn't accept was that he could endure the pain, but he couldn't break through. This was what made him very depressed. Almost just a little bit more. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and complained in a very depressed manner. Jiao Lao, I almost broke through. Above Earth class, you can't forcefully break through by compressing your vital energy. If you continue to try, won't it just increase the pain? Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi and shook his head. There's a saying, more haste, less speed. You're still a little bit away from breaking through. I'm afraid it's not possible for you to break through by force. Then, I can't break through today. Lin Yi asked a little unwillingly. Breaking through today isn't very realistic, Jiao Yazi said. After this time, I'm afraid it won't be easy to encounter such an opportunity again. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Now that his injuries were healed, it was a good opportunity. Chapter 2377. His meridians had just been repaired, and they were still very resilient. They hadn't stabilized yet, and it was perfect for forcefully breaking through. After a few more days, it would be even more difficult to break through. Then try again. Jiao Yazi didn't try to persuade Lin Yi anymore. He knew Lin Yi's personality. He was the type of person who would try as long as there was a sliver of hope. Lin Yi quickly repaired the parts of his meridians that were damaged by the qi bomb, before continuing to compress the energy bomb. Starting the second attempt. Boom! Ah! The second attempt to compress his true qi failed. Boom! Ah! The third attempt to compress his true qi failed. Boom! Ah! The 10th attempt to compress his true qi failed. Lin Yi felt a sense of defeat. Could it be that he was too impatient? Just a little bit more and he could break through. But it was this little bit that kept Lin Yi at Earth class mid-phase. I don't want to give up. Lin Yi roared furiously. Yes, he really didn't want to give up. He was just a little bit away from breaking through to Earth class mid-phase peak. But because of that little bit, he couldn't break through. He had already controlled the amount of energy he could compress to the limit. Any more and it would explode outside his body. If Lin Yi took in a little more qi, or if his practitioner's arts circulated a little faster, he would be able to break through in the same amount of time. But wait, faster practitioner's arts? Lin Yi suddenly remembered something important. Wu Qintian. Lin Yi came back to reality from the jade space and called out to the living room outside. Boss, what's wrong? Qintian quickly ran over and pushed open the door to Lin Yi's room. You and Yao Yao, go get Wang Xinyan. Lin Yi quickly ordered. Hurry up, it's urgent. I need her urgently. It'll be too late if we're late. Ah. Qintian froze. Wasn't the boss a little too horny? Did he need Wang Xinyan urgently? However, when he saw the anxious and solemn expression on Lin Yi's face, he did not dare to ask too much. He quickly nodded and said, Okay, I'll go now. Lin Yi's voice wasn't soft at all, and Ming Yao and Yushu heard it as well. They looked at each other strangely, shocked by Lin Yi's words as well. Lin Yi wouldn't have gone crazy again, would he? Yao Yao, is Shield Bro in heat? Yushu said in surprise. Shu, Lin Yi's acting weird. Let's go find Xinyan. Ming Yao understood Lin Yi's personality. If Lin Yi really needed a woman after going crazy, he would have gone straight to Shu or even her. There was no need for him to go to Wang Xinyan. After all, Ming Yao thought that Xinyan might become Lin Yi's girlfriend. But at least the two of them weren't really in a relationship other than an ambiguous one. So with Lin Yi's personality, he wouldn't go to bed with Xinyan. There was no way he was going to get Wang Xinyan to sleep with him. There had to be something else. Oh, okay. Yushu nodded. She was just saying it casually. She wouldn't mess around or joke at a critical moment like this. She hurried out of the villa with Qintian and ran to the car. Elder Pai, you guys protect the boss. I'll go with Yao Yao and the others. Qintian said quickly. Okay. Don't worry, we're here. Elder Pai patted his chest. He had a sky class with him, and as long as it wasn't a troublesome enemy, he would be able to handle it. Qintian nodded. He quickly got into the jeep in the yard, and Ming Yao and Yushu got in as well. The three of them rushed to school. Wang Xinyan should be in the dorm at this time. It was Sunday. It was afternoon, and even the students who had gone home were back in their rooms. Plus, Wang Xinyan didn't seem to be home during the weekend. Her parents seemed to be very busy. Ming Yao and Yushu knew where Xinyan's dorm was. Qintian parked the car downstairs, and Ming Yao and Yushu rushed up and knocked on Xinyan's door. It wasn't Xinyan who opened the door, but another girl from Xinyan's dorm, Chai Xiaoling, Zhao Xingji's girlfriend. Ming Yao and Yushu had gone to the Tiger Lion Park with her before, and they'd had a meal together. Yao Yao Shu? Are you here for Xinyan? Xiaoling could guess why Ming Yao and Yushu were here. She and Himeiwa knew Ming Yao and Yushu, but they didn't interact much with them. Xinyan was the only one who seemed to have a good relationship with them. Xiaoling was very curious sometimes. Ming Yao and Yushu seemed to have some kind of relationship with Lin Yi, and so did Xinyan. The three of them seemed to be very close at the same time. It was weird. And where's Xinyan? Ming Yao said hurriedly, because Lin Yi's tone was very, very urgent. It must have been a big problem. And so Ming Yao didn't dare to be slow. She didn't bother greeting Xiaoling politely and asked directly. Xinyan's in the shower, what's wrong? What's wrong? Xiaoling was curious why Ming Yao was in such a hurry. Shower. Ming Yao blinked. She didn't expect Xinyan to be in the shower at this time. She was in a difficult position. Then, how long has she been in the shower? About 5 minutes, right? Xiaoling was even more confused about why Meng Yao was in such a rush. What happened? Meng Yao didn't know how to explain it, and she was in a dilemma. Yushu, on the other hand, charged into Xinyan's dorm room and pulled up a sheet from what looked like Xinyan's bed before rushing into the bathroom. Ah, who's there? Xinyan screamed when she saw someone opening the bathroom door. She didn't hear Meng Yao and Yushu coming to the dorm because of the shower, so she jumped when Shu opened the door. This was a girl's room, and boys weren't allowed to enter. Xinyan didn't lock the door, but under normal circumstances, roommates wouldn't open the door. Xinyan breathed a sigh of relief when she saw it was Yushu, but at the same time, she was puzzled. What was Yushu doing here? Xinyan sis, come with us. Shield bro needs you. With that, Yushu turned off the shower and covered Xinyan with the bedsheet. She wrapped Xinyan up like a mummy and pushed her out of the room. Yushu's eyes lit up as she walked out of the room. Chapter 2378. Too coincidental, ah? What are you talking about? Stop it. Xinyan didn't understand what Yushu was trying to do, and was pushed out of the washroom. Shield bro really needs you, he's dying, it's too late. Yushu didn't know why Lin Yi was in such a rush to find Xinyan, but she just wanted Xinyan to hurry up. Dying? Xinyan was shocked. What do you mean? What's wrong with him? It's a long story, come with us. Yushu said as she pushed Xinyan. Let me put on some clothes first. Xinyan smiled bitterly. It's too late, Yao Yao, help us. Yushu waved at Meng Yao. Meng Yao didn't want to play around with Yushu, but it'd take a lot of time for Xinyan to put on some clothes. She grabbed a jacket that she suspected to be Xinyan's and draped it over Xinyan's body, pushing Xinyan out with Yushu. Xinyan didn't know what to do. If she didn't know that Meng Yao and Yushu couldn't be kidnappers, she would have thought that she was kidnapped again. But looking at how worried they were, Lin Yi must have really made a mistake. Xinyan didn't insist, and just like that, she was pushed out of the room with the jacket wrapped around her, and went downstairs. It wasn't to the extent of exposing herself, since she was wrapped tightly in the sheet, but it still attracted a lot of weird looks from her classmates. But Xinyan didn't have anything to explain, and just followed Meng Yao and Yushu out of the girls' dorm, getting into the jeep. Chen Tian was surprised to see Xinyan dressed like this, but he didn't say anything. He started the car and drove back to the villa in the Shueshang district. Now can you guys tell me what happened to Lin Yi? Xinyan was a little troubled. What the hell was she doing with her naked body wrapped in a sheet? She looked like a mistress who got caught in the act. We don't know either. Meng Yao shrugged apologetically. Xinyan paused. If you guys don't know, then why did you make me come out in such a hurry? Lin Yi ran into an enemy and got heavily injured. He's been recovering in his room since he got home, but he suddenly called Wu Qintian over, saying that he really needs you. He wants us to bring you over immediately. Meng Yao explained. That's it. We don't know why he's looking for you, but he seems to be in a hurry. Is that so? Xinyan blinked, but something seemed to have dawned on her. Could it be that Lin Yi's healing had failed, and he needed her sent to help him? Xinyan blushed at the thought. Xinyan sis, you have to be careful. Shield bro might be in heat, Yushu said. Xinyan's face turned even redder at the thought of what she was wearing. It was embarrassing enough having Lin Yi sniff her scent while he healed, and now she wasn't wearing anything at all. Yushu thought that Xinyan believed her when she saw the blush. She smiled mischievously. Xinyan sis, now that you're Shield bro's woman, you have to get along well with Yao Yao sis. Don't bully her. ? Xinyan didn't know what Shu was talking about, not understanding what was going on. Shu, don't talk nonsense. What does this have to do with me? Meng Yao glared at Yushu. I'm just worried that Yao Yao sis will get bullied in the future. We're alone. Yushu mumbled, but didn't continue. It didn't take long for the car to arrive at the villa's entrance. Meng Yao and Yushu dragged Xinyan into the villa. pushing her into Lin Yi's bedroom, without caring if she wanted to or not. Shu even pulled off Xinyan's jacket and pushed her onto Lin Yi's bed before quickly closing the door with Meng Yao. Ha ha ha. Yushu smiled mischievously. Yao Yao, you've achieved your goal. What do you mean my goal? Meng Yao had been trying to get Lin Yi and Xinyan together, but now that it was over, she felt a little uncomfortable. It was as if someone had stolen something from her. It was a complicated feeling. It's nothing. Yushu surprisingly stopped messing around. Xinyan sis is a good person. She doesn't have any bad intentions. You'll get along well with Yao Yao sis in the future. I'm not worried. What? Meng Yao blinked, not understanding what Yushu was saying. It's nothing. Yushu shook her head before resuming her smile. Detective Shu 007. Go check if Shield Bro did push Xinyan sis down. With that, Yushu put her ear to Lin Yi's door. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had been compressing the energy bomb, waiting for Wang Xinyan's arrival before breaking through the barrier in one go. Now that Wang Xinyan was here, it was only natural that he started preparing to break through the barrier. Lin Yi. Xinyan jumped at the sight of the blood on Lin Yi's body, not knowing what to do. Come closer to me. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Xinyan's situation. Xinyan was wrapped in a bedsheet, and there were water stains on her hair. She'd been showering when Meng Yao and Yushu brought her back forcefully. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Yeah, Xinyan replied softly. She was a little embarrassed, but Lin Yi was in such a pitiful state that she didn't dare tarry. Her body trembled as she moved closer to Lin Yi, her heart pounding, her face red as well. It wasn't the first time she'd been intimate with Lin Yi after all. They'd slept together during military training, and Xinyan always tried to get close to Lin Yi with less clothes on during class. But today was a little different. Meng Yao and Yushu were outside after all, and Xinyan couldn't bring herself to do that. They probably thought that Lin Yi wanted to sleep with her, didn't they? Xinyan's face was as red as blood at the thought. The aroma on Xinyan's body was like a shot of adrenaline into Lin Yi's body. And with the help of the bomb, Lin Yi's qi reached its peak. Lin Yi quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery. He could clearly feel that he was about to break through. Chapter 2379. Lin Yi started channeling the chant of the art of dragon mastery crazily. Lin Yi's body was covered in sweat, as if he was in a steamer. His expression was one of pain and agony. Come closer. Lin Yi felt that he was so close to success. Oh, okay. Xinyan subconsciously moved her body closer to Lin Yi. Her whole body was about to be pressed against Lin Yi's body. This made Xinyan even more embarrassed. It wasn't like the two hadn't been close before during the military training, but it was different now. Xinyan only had a sheet on her. Just a little more. Can you remove the sheet a little more? Lin Yi felt that this was a little too much, but at this moment, Lin Yi had no choice but to do this. He didn't want to give up. He was at the barrier of the middle phase peak. Just a little more and he'd be able to break through. Ah, I'm inside. Xinyan wanted to say that she wasn't wearing anything underneath, but she saw the look on Lin Yi's face. She was scared that she'd delay Lin Yi's recovery. She didn't care anymore. She'd seen everything during the military training anyway. Now wouldn't make a difference. And so, Xinyan made up her mind and removed the sheet on her body, pressing her whole body on Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi felt a fragrant and soft body fall into his arms. His lower body suddenly heated up, but Lin Yi knew that this wasn't the time to think about other things. He quickly focused his mind and channeled the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Boom! Lin Yi felt the fragrance on Xinyan's body fusing with the pure qi in his body, forming a ball of heat that rushed into his dantian and spread out. That heat wave split into countless small streams of pure qi, spreading through his meridians and nourishing them. He broke through. He had finally broken through. Lin Yi was overjoyed. The breakthrough this time was a bumpy one, but the result was good. Wang Xinyan, on the other hand, was a big part of the credit. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't have been able to break through today. But when he thought of Wang Xinyan, the joy in Lin Yi's heart was extinguished by awkwardness. How was he supposed to face Wang Xinyan? Linny didn't open his eyes, but his perception in the jade space allowed him to feel everything around him even more clearly than seeing it with his own eyes. Looking at Xingyan's naked body, Linny suppressed the urge in his heart, feeling a little troubled. This time, they were in big trouble. In the past, it was all a misunderstanding. But this time, could it still be considered a misunderstanding? How was he supposed to explain this to Xingyan? How would he face her in the future? Linny suddenly had a headache. He really didn't think that Wang Xingyan would be brought here by Meng Yao and Yushu in a situation like this. If Xingyan hadn't taken a shower, he could have just unbuttoned her shirt like usual. But this time, there was nothing under the bed sheet. Linny was in an awkward situation, but it seemed that Xingyan was in an even more awkward situation. Although her body was pressed against Linny, her breathing was rapid, and her face was frighteningly red. She didn't dare move at all, her body frozen on the bed, her eyes closed, and she just lay there like an idiot. Linny sighed. If he were to open his eyes and talk to her right now, both of them would be in an awkward situation. After all, Linny and Wang Xingyan had a little something going on between them, but it wasn't to the point where they were naked. And so Linny made a quick decision. He'd pretend to be asleep for now, pretending not to know anything. Letting Xingyan leave on her own was probably the best solution. Otherwise, Linny really wouldn't know how to face Xingyan. At that thought, Linny's breathing became even. Linny had been on many special missions before, and it was very easy for him to pretend to be asleep. Others wouldn't be able to see through it. As expected, Xingyan waited for a long time, her body stiff beside Linny, not daring to move or look at Linny. Suddenly, she heard Lin Yi's even breathing. She couldn't help but be startled. After listening carefully for a while, she realized that Lin Yi seemed to have fallen asleep. Xingyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that Lin Yi really was asleep, but she had to admit that this was the best possible outcome for her. She didn't have to face Lin Yi awake, and she wouldn't feel awkward. But in her heart, she was still a little disappointed. Lin Yi was asleep. Didn't he know that she was lying naked beside him? Did he not have any sexual interest for her? Did he just fall asleep like that? A girl's thoughts were always contradictory. On one hand, she was afraid of the awkwardness, but on the other, she was a little annoyed. Did Lin Yi not care about her? In that moment of hesitation, Xingyan wrapped herself in the bed sheet and put on a cotton coat. She quietly opened Lin Yi's door and left. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't open his eyes, but he could clearly see what was going on outside. Looking at the beautiful Xingyan beside him, especially the naked Xingyan, Lin Yi almost had a nosebleed. Fortunately, he'd vomited too much before, and he didn't have enough blood left in him. Phew! Lin Yi waited until Xingyan left the room before letting out a long breath, suppressing the excitement in his heart. This excitement was the excitement of seeing Xingyan's naked body, and the joy of leveling up to Earth-class mid-phase peak. Lin kid, I didn't think you'd use this method to level up. How shameless. Jiao Yazi said with disdain. Head Jiao Lao, I had no other choice. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Never mind. But congratulations, you found a new way to level up. Jiao Yazi said. Haha. Lin Yi started laughing like an idiot. Xingyan let out a yelp when she opened the door, because she bumped into Shu, who was standing at the door. She didn't expect Yushu to be eavesdropping at the door. Shu, why are you here? Oh, I was just worried about Shield Bro, so I came to check up on him. Yushu was a little embarrassed that she was caught eavesdropping. Oh, Xingyan sis, your chest is pretty big too, a little bigger than Yao Yao sis. Xingyan was speechless. What was she talking about? She blushed, but for some reason she said, not as big as you. Chapter 2380. Didn't you hear it already? Xingyan didn't know what to do with the curious Yushu. Alright, do you have any clothes? Can you help me find some? Why do I look so weird like this? Xingyan wasn't like this right now, but she couldn't just walk around in a bed all the time, could she? It was just too weird. I found some for you, Xingyan. Go upstairs and change, we're about the same size. You should be able to wear my clothes. Meng Yao had expected this to happen. She'd prepared a new set of clothes in the bedroom upstairs. Thanks. Xingyan nodded to Meng Yao. We're the ones who should be thanking. Lin Yi, it's all thanks to you. Meng Yao said. Ling Yi's my friend too, it's nothing. Xingyan shook her head and quickly followed Meng Yao upstairs. Chen Tian, Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, and even Elder Pai and Gong Gao were all very curious as to why Lin Yi was looking for Xingyan. But it wasn't their place to ask. They could only pretend that they didn't know anything. Phew! Xingyan stumbled onto Meng Yao's bed the moment she got there. Her face red as if she'd lost all her strength. Her heart was pounding like it was going to jump out of her chest at any moment. Oh, Xingyan sis, did that feel good? Can you share it with us? Yushu asked sneakily as she followed Xingyan into the bedroom. What? Xingyan hadn't recovered from her nervousness. She jumped at Yushu's question. What did it feel like? It's the feeling of asterisk asterisk. Wasn't Shield Bro looking for you to asterisk asterisk? Yushu said as she looked Xingyan up and down, trying to find a flaw in her. Ah. Xingyan understood what Yushu was saying. It seemed like she'd been misunderstood. But anyone would think too much about it, since Lin Yi said that he needed her. It was normal for Yushu to think the wrong things. But she didn't know how to explain it. She didn't know if Lin Yi was a secret, and she didn't know if she could tell Meng Yao and Yushu. Shoo, stop guessing. There's nothing going on between Xingyan and Lin Yi. Xingyan didn't look like she'd just been pushed down at least. Xingyan was walking normally, and she'd be in Lin Yi's room right now if she'd been pushed down. She wouldn't be running out of the room in such a hurry. Oh, Yushu was just joking. 'Cause Meng Yao didn't want her to ask too much. Xingyan sis, what Shield Bro was looking for you for? I think we should wait for Lin Yi to come out, and let him tell you guys? I don't know if I can tell him. Xingyan said troubled. Okay, we'll wait for Lin Yi then. Meng Yao could tell that Xingyan had something she couldn't talk about, so she stopped asking. I've prepared the clothes but you didn't finish showering, right? The bathroom in the room can be used for showering. You go first, I'll go downstairs with Shu. Okay, thanks. Xingyan nodded, relieved that Meng Yao wasn't going to press her for more information. Meng Yao pulled Yushu downstairs, and Xingyan went to the bathroom. She really did need a shower, after all. The blood from Lin Yi's body was all over her body, and it was quite scary. Lin Yi changed his clothes and walked out of the room to see Meng Yao and Yushu coming downstairs, but Xingyan wasn't there. Yao Shu, where's Xingyan? She's showering and changing upstairs. Meng Yao said. Are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. It's all thanks to you guys. Lin Yi said with a smile. Right, Shield Bro, why are you looking for Xingyan sis? Yushu asked curiously. Let's talk about that later. This involved Xingyan's privacy, and Elder Pai and the others were in the room. Lin Yi couldn't say much. Oh, Yushu nodded and didn't ask any more questions. After a while, Xingyan came downstairs in a brand new outfit. She paused when she saw Lin Yi in the living room, who was also wearing a new outfit. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but didn't know what to say. The atmosphere in the living room was getting awkward all of a sudden. Xingyan. Thank you. Lin Yi looked at Xingyan, overwhelmed with emotions. He wanted to thank her, but didn't know what to say. Recalling the ambiguous atmosphere, Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a headache coming on from where he stood with Xingyan. You're welcome. Xingyan stuttered. She thought that Lin Yi was asleep, and that she'd change her clothes and come downstairs. She'd be able to leave as soon as possible and calm down for the night. Everyone would calm down at school tomorrow, and it wouldn't be too awkward as long as she didn't bring it up on purpose. But she didn't expect Lin Yi to come out so soon, and change his clothes as well. She'd only taken a quick shower in the bathroom, before putting on her clothes and going downstairs. It didn't take up too much time, so she was sure that Lin Yi wasn't asleep at all. He was just pretending to be asleep. Xingyan felt a little empty and disappointed at the thought. Did he not like her? Otherwise, why would he pretend to be asleep? Wang Xingyan didn't say anything after that. She went silent. Lin Yi, on the other hand, smiled bitterly as he scratched his head. He didn't know what to do. If it was Xiao Xiao, or even Shu, Lin Yi could face it calmly, but Xingyan, there was a bit of ambiguity between the two, but it hadn't been made public. But now, be my girlfriend. Lin Yi extended his hand to Xingyan and took a deep breath. He wasn't an irresponsible person, and it wasn't that he didn't like Xingyan. Things had come to this point, and Lin Yi had to do something. It was a little too fast, but Lin Yi felt that it would be unfair to Xingyan if he didn't do something. But he felt sorry for Xiao Xiao. She agreed to let him find a wife. But wasn't this a little too fast? Xingyan froze. She didn't think that Lin Yi would say something like this after a long silence. Chapter 2381. Xingyan stared at Lin Yi blankly. She'd thought about their relationship before, and she'd thought that things between her and Lin Yi wouldn't work out because of her family and House Kong. She'd been suppressing her feelings for Lin Yi, trying her best not to let things get out of hand with Lin Yi. But while she kept reminding herself to stay calm, she'd done a lot of things she couldn't forgive, like hugging Lin Yi, watching a movie with Lin Yi, and now she was naked with Lin Yi. She didn't like Xiaolong, and she didn't like the marriage with House Kong, but her family had already agreed to it. She felt like she shouldn't be doing this. It felt like cheating, and it made her feel guilty. But Xingyan had to admit that being with Lin Yi was very pleasurable. It was comfortable, and the occasional flirtatious moment. The heartbeat was unforgettable and satisfying. She even wished that she could be the desk mate of Lin Yi forever, never having to graduate, never having to face that marriage. But unconsciously, Xingyan's heart was leaning more and more towards Lin Yi. She was getting more and more rebellious, and she didn't want to think about marriage anymore. But she knew that some things couldn't be changed. She was just lying to herself. When Lin Yi displayed his extraordinary strength, and when she saw Lin Yi's followers getting stronger and stronger, even Elder Pai becoming Lin Yi's follower, Xingyan's heart was filled with anticipation. The common Xiao family's support was the hidden house Pai, and now that the hidden house Pai had become Lin Yi's follower, it shouldn't be too hard for Elder Pai to talk to the Xiao family and cancel the marriage, right? But Xingyan didn't think that Lin Yi's confession would come so quickly. It caught her off guard. From her point of view, she should at least break off the engagement before she could be with Lin Yi. Ever since she was young, she had always been an obedient girl, so she always felt that it was a crime to be with Lin Yi without breaking off the engagement. It made her feel a deep sense of guilt. This was also the reason why she was stunned for a moment. She didn't know how to answer Lin Yi. Agree? Don't agree? Xingyan's heart was pounding furiously. She couldn't make up her mind. Not knowing what to do, Xingyan was a little taken aback. She really wanted to say yes to Lin Yi, but there were so many people in the room, especially in front of Meng Yao and Yushu. She couldn't bring herself to just nod her head like that. This seemed to be threatening Lin Yi. Did he say that because he wanted to be responsible for himself? Why else would he pretend to be asleep? All of a sudden, Xingyan's heart was a mess. All sorts of things were rushing into her mind, making her feel dizzy. She wanted to run away, but somehow, Xingyan ran out of the villa, disappearing from everyone's line of sight. Lin Yi paused. It was easy for him to stop Xingyan, but if she were to leave now, did that mean she was rejecting him? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. He didn't know what Xingyan was thinking. Logically speaking, she should have feelings for him, right? Otherwise, why would she help him with his training so many times? For a girl to make a sacrifice like this, it was enough to prove her feelings. But why did she run away all of a sudden? Shield Bro's confession failed. Yushu was a little puzzled. Xingyan seemed to like Lin Yi, so why did it fail? Shu. Meng Yao glared at her. At this moment, Lin Yi was in a bad mood after his confession failed. Shu's words were like adding oil to the fire. But she didn't know why, but Meng Yao felt relieved. Was it because Xingyan didn't accept Lin Yi's confession? But why did she feel that it was a pity? Was it because she hoped that Lin Yi and Xingyan could be together? Was it because of his promise to Tang Yin? Old Pai and the others could see the awkwardness in the air as well. It was best if they didn't stay in the villa any longer. It wouldn't look good on Lin Yi. He cleared his throat. Jishan, Jihai Chintian Elder Wu. Let's go for a stroll, the weather's nice today. Everyone responded, naturally understanding what Old Pai was thinking. It was indeed awkward for them to stay here, so it was best if they left. Linny didn't stop them, but before Chintian walked out, Linny said, "Look after her, don't let anything happen to her." "Got it, boss." Chintian understood immediately. Linny didn't say it that clearly, but he knew that Linny wanted him to keep an eye on Xingyan, with a bitter smile. Linny sat on the sofa with Yushu and Mingyao beside him. "Shield bro, you failed at hitting on the girl? Do you need Shu to analyze it for you?" Yushu asked. "What do you know? Stop analyzing." Mingyao interrupted. "Go get me some water, I'm a little thirsty." Oh. Yushu didn't look like she was unwilling this time. She stood up happily and walked towards the kitchen. "Linny." Xingyan's probably a little confused for a moment. "It's not that she doesn't want to accept your confession." Mingyao was more attentive to details, and came to this conclusion after some thought. She wasn't too sure, but she was just trying to comfort him, and make him feel better. "It's fine, haha," Linny said with a smile. "I know." "Okay, it's good that you know. Don't be too disappointed. Xingyan actually likes you." Mingyao said. "What happened today was too sudden. I'd probably hesitate if you confessed to me all of a sudden. Of course, if you confess a few more times, I'd probably say yes." "Okay." Linny nodded, not thinking much about it. Disappointment flashed in Mingyao's eyes. Did he really get it? He didn't seem to. Yushu came back with a cup of tea, and handed it to Linny. "Right, Shield bro, why were you looking for Xingyan, sis?" Chapter 2382. The tea's a little hot. Let's drink it later. Yushu said quickly when she saw Lin Yi looking at her strangely. Oh, Linny wasn't in a good mood, so he didn't think too much about it. "There's a special scent on Wang Xingyan. I wonder if you guys noticed it?" "Scent?" Mingyao blinked, but after thinking about it, Xingyan did seem to have a faint scent on her, something that could only be smelled close to her. Mingyao was sitting next to Xingyan when they went to the Tiger Lion Park, and she did smell it. It was a nice scent that made people feel comfortable and safe. Mingyao thought that it was perfume, but now that Linny was talking about it, it didn't seem like perfume at all. Mingyao had used a lot of perfume brands, but this was the first time she smelled it. She nodded. "I think so, it smells pretty good. What's wrong?" "Oh, Shu smelled it too. It really does smell like a fragrant herb." Yushu nodded as well. "Yeah, I slept with Xingyan in the barracks during military training, and I found out that this scent can speed up my training." Linny said. "My training speed has increased quite a bit recently, and it's all thanks to Xingyan." "Ah, I get it. You were about to break through the level barrier just now, weren't you? You were just a little bit away from it, and that's why I called Xingyan here." Mingyao said. She understood what was going on after hearing Lin Yi's explanation. "Yeah, that's it." Linny nodded. "I was injured in a fight at the casino, but at the same time, I found an opportunity to break through the barrier. It's just a little bit away, but I can't break through no matter how hard I try. That's why I asked you guys to get Xingyan here." "Then, Shield bro, did you break through now?" Yushu was very surprised. She didn't think that Lin Yi was looking for Xingyan for this reason. Wasn't this too amazing? Was Wang Xingyan a moving cultivation furnace? Yes, but Wang Xingyan took off the sheets to let her body smell better. So I think I should take responsibility. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. After that, he naturally picked up the teacup on the coffee table and prepared to take a sip of tea. Oh wait! Yushu snatched the teacup from Lin Yi's hands and put it back on the table. "It's still pretty hot. Drink it later." Question mark. Linny looked at Yushu strangely, not understanding what was going on. "Shu, what are you doing?" Mingyao was confused by Shu's actions as well. She snatched the teacup from Mingyao's hands. "I'll drink first, I'm a little thirsty." "Ah, Aya." Xiao Shu's hand loosened, and the teacup fell to the ground. It broke into pieces, and the tea inside spilled all over the floor. "Shu, are you trying to rebel?" Mengyao didn't know what to say at the sight of Shu breaking the teacup. Oh, Shu's hand slipped. I'll go clean it up now. Yushu stood up and went to get a broom and mop. As if she'd let out a sigh of relief. Mengyao opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. Why was Shu acting so weird today? Her mind, however, was on Linny. About Xingyan. I'll give her a call later. I have her number. And it's easier for us girls to talk to each other. I'll ask for you? Thanks. Linny said. Yeah. Mengyao looked at Linny, feeling a little emotional. Why hadn't anyone asked for her before? This Shu guy. It didn't take long for Yushu to clean up the broken teacup before mopping the floor. Grandma's son had been with Faubert for the past couple of days, and Faubert and Pengzhan were both in Donghai dealing with business matters. The housework had fallen on everyone's shoulders. It's done. Yushu sighed in relief, as if a huge burden had been lifted off her shoulders. Shu, what's wrong? You don't have a fever today, do you? Why do I feel like something's wrong? Mengyao felt that Yushu wasn't quite herself today. It's nothing, I'm fine, Yushu said. Linny had broken through the level barrier, but there were still a lot of things he needed to think about after today's fight. He nodded to Mengyao and Yushu. I'm going back to my room. I need to work on some martial arts questions. You guys talk. Yeah, okay. Mengyao, on the other hand, hoped that Linny could do something else to distract himself from Xingyan's rejection. Linny went into his room and started thinking about the reason for activating Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw today. There was the previous failure of Spring Rain. But from Lin Yi's perspective, Spring Rain failed because he didn't have a water attribute in his body. Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw, on the other hand, was different. He could activate Mu Linsun's 1,000 transformations with ease. And since he could use sky-splitting claw with Fiery Fist, it meant that he had no problem activating it. So why did Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw fail? Linny frowned. He couldn't figure it out. So he started using Mu Linsun's 1,000 transformations incantation again, following the method of activating sky-splitting claw. He started activating the first form, Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw. This time, Linny didn't try to activate the fifth form right away. He tested it with the first form, but the result was tragic. The activation still failed. And it didn't even feel as good as when he activated Spring Rain. Although the activation of Spring Rain from the sky had failed, the initial process was smooth. It was only the final step to release it. However, Mu Linsun's heaven-splitting claw was different. It could not be activated at all. It was as if the mantra and the activation method did not match. How strange. Linny tried again, and after confirming that he couldn't use Mu Linsun's sky-splitting earth-splitting claw, he stopped. There was no point in trying anymore. Chapter 2383. That's right. Linny suddenly thought of a fact. The heaven and earth splitting claw was a fire attribute martial arts technique, and the frenzied fire fist was also a fire attribute martial arts technique. Therefore, these two martial arts techniques could be combined. By using the mantra of the frenzied fire fist and the activation method of the heaven and earth splitting claw, they could form a new martial arts technique. However, the wood forest 1,000 transformations was different. This was a wood attribute mental cultivation technique, which was different from the fire attribute heaven and earth splitting claw. Therefore, this should be the reason why the two could not be successfully activated when combined. Thinking of this, Lin Yi's mind suddenly lit up. He combined the frenzied fire fist and the wood forest 1,000 transformations and tried to activate them, but it ended in failure. Moreover, regardless of whether Lin Yi combined the mantra of the frenzied fire fist with the wood forest 1,000 transformations, or the mantra of the wood forest 1,000 transformations with the frenzied fire fist, they did not succeed. This indirectly proved that Lin Yi's previous guess and judgment were correct. Only martial arts techniques of the same attribute could be combined with each other. Martial arts techniques of different attributes could not be combined. In other words, if Park Laoyo's martial arts technique was not a fire attribute or wood attribute, but a metal attribute, water attribute, or earth attribute martial art technique, Lin Yi would not have been able to imitate it. he definitely would not have been able to activate it. Thinking of this, Linny secretly praised his luck. He was really lucky. Park Laoyo's martial arts technique happened to be of the fire attribute. Linny also hit the mark by chance. He directly combined it with the frenzied fire fist that he was most familiar with and successfully activated it. At that time, if Linny had combined the Wood Forest Thousand transformations and failed to activate it, Linny might not have thought so much and given up on experimenting with the frenzied fire fist in a moment of desperation. Then, it would have been a disaster. However, when Linny figured this out, a new question arose. That was, why could Taganlong's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm be combined with the frenzied fire fist and the Wood Forest Thousand transformations? What kind of martial skill was this 5 elements 8 trigrams palm? 5 elements. Linny subconsciously twitched his mouth. Could it really belong to the 5 elements? Could it be that this was a martial skill that could be used by all 5 elements? Thinking of this, Linny could not help but secretly click his tongue. This Taganlong was really lucky to actually cultivate such a martial technique. However, Linny suddenly thought of the colorful vital qi on Taganlong's body. Could it be that he had a 5-elemental constitution and was using the 5-elemental vital qi to activate the 5-elemental 8 trigram palm? Thinking about it, it was really possible. If he didn't play, why would the power of his martial arts be so abnormal? If Taganlong really had a 5-elemental constitution and had the 5-elemental vital qi, then the third style of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm should be as powerful as the 15th style of an ordinary high-grade martial arts technique. However, Taganlong obviously did not do it. Of course, this was only a theoretical figure. Although the strength of a martial arts technique had a lot to do with the skill itself, it was also related to the proficiency of the cultivator. For example, when Lin Yi used the frenzied fire fist, his proficiency was higher than Faubert's. Therefore, when Lin Yi used the frenzied fire fist, the first style was equivalent to the power of the second style of an ordinary martial arts technique, and so on. However, Faubert could not do it. Therefore, although Taganlong's martial arts technique was powerful, theory was theory, and reality was reality. It was already very rare for him to be able to unleash the current power. After deducing the power of Taganlong's martial arts technique, Lin Yi was a little covetous. Even if he had a 3-elemental constitution of wood, fire and metal, if he were to cultivate the 5 elements 8 trigram palm, he should be able to unleash the power of the 15th style in the 5th style. That would be awesome enough. The power was simply heaven-defying. No wonder Taganlong was so strong. However, Lin Yi had cultivated the omnipotent martial arts technique and could master any martial arts technique that could be cultivated. This way, he would definitely be stronger than Taganlong. Phew. Lin Yi let out a long breath and silently recited Taganlong's name. It seemed that when he was strong enough, he should go to the Taganlong family again and steal Taganlong's martial arts technique. That way, he would be invincible when facing even more powerful enemies. Right, didn't my master, the strange man in heaven rank, say that he was stealing the enemy's cultivation method? If it was really as he said, and he could steal the mantra of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm, that would be a good thing. But where was he going to find the strange man in heaven rank? The treasures in the Wulong Haut mountain range had already been taken out, so it was impossible for the heaven-ranked eccentric to return to that mountain range. With his crazy personality and brain, who knew where he might have run off to? It would be extremely difficult to find him. Outside the room, Yushu was sitting on the sofa in a daze. Although her eyes were on the TV, it was obvious that she was absent-minded. Shu, what's wrong with you? Is there something on your mind? Meng Yao felt that something was wrong when Shu poured tea for her. She felt that something was wrong with her. Yushu froze and came back to her senses. Yao Yao, what did you say? Meng Yao frowned slightly. Shu, is there something on your mind? Didn't you hear what I said just now? No, Shu was too engrossed in the TV just now. Yushu was a little shocked, and quickly said with a smile. Really? Then what was on the TV? Meng Yao asked. The TV. Yushu subconsciously glanced at the TV and said, "Isn't it Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf? I just changed the channel." Mingyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "It was SpongeBob just now." "Oh right, it was SpongeBob." Yushu nodded. "I watched SpongeBob yesterday, and it was Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf just now. I didn't change the channel." Mingyao was a little speechless. "Shu, what's wrong with you? You're even hiding it from me?" "Ah, is that so?" Yushu didn't expect Mingyao to be this cunning, lying to her. She shook her head. "It's really nothing. Maybe I overused my brain in the casino today." "Really?" Mingyao naturally didn't believe Yushu's words. She sighed and lowered her voice. "Is it because of Linny?" Mingyao thought about it and couldn't come up with a reason like that. Shu liked Lin Yi, and Yushu had never denied her feelings for him. It was understandable that Shu was in a bad mood after Lin Yi suddenly confessed to Wang Xinyan. Chapter 2384. Whether it was Tang Yun or Xiao Xiao, Yushu didn't really care about them. She acted like a mistress, but in the end, she still became good friends with Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao. This time, Wang Xinyan becoming Lin Yi's first wife was Yushu's idea. Was she really unhappy because of this? Mingyao didn't believe it herself. It was possible to say that Mingyao wasn't happy, but it didn't seem possible to say that Shu wasn't happy. From the beginning to the end, her only thought was that as long as she could be with Lin Yi, it didn't matter if he was an official girlfriend or not. Even if he was the main wife, she'd be satisfied as a small wife. And so Mingyao was puzzled. Why did Shu's personality seem to have changed today? Could it be that she didn't want to be the second wife anymore, and her personality exploded? "Ah, you. How did you know?" Yushu blurted out subconsciously, realizing that she'd let the cat out of the bag. No, I was just using my brain a little too much. I'm a little dizzy." "Shu." Mingyao looked at Yushu sternly. "Ah, okay, it's because of Shield Bro," Yushu said helplessly. "I'm actually worried about Wang Xinyan." "Shu, you don't want Wang Xinyan to be Lin Yi's girlfriend?" Mingyao asked weirdly after hearing Yushu admit it. "No." Yushu shook her head. "It's not that I don't want to." "Oh." Yushu's innocent expression only made Mingyao even more puzzled. She seemed to have misunderstood the situation. Yushu didn't seem to be upset about Xinyan's ascension to the position. But was it because of something else? Mingyao asked curiously. "Then what are you worried about?" "I'm worried that she rejected Shield Bro's confession. Shu wants her to be Shield Bro's first wife, so that she can be with Yao Yao in the future," Yushu said. "Xinyan sis has a good personality. She'll probably have a good time with Yao Yao when she moves into the villa." "Move into the villa?" Mingyao paused. "You're telling her to move into the villa? What do you mean by having a good time? What are you talking about?" "It's nothing. What Shu means is, if Shu dies one day, we can find someone to accompany Yao Yao," Yushu said after some hesitation. "Dead? How could he die? Why are you talking about these things?" Mingyao looked at Yushu confused. She glared at her. "What's wrong with you today?" "Nope, I'm just thinking about it. People go through life and death, accidents and disasters. What if I die one of those times? I won't be able to be with Yao Yao anymore." Yushu said. "From now on, let Sister Xinyan accompany Sister Yao Yao." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Mingyao couldn't understand what Yushu was talking about. She touched Yushu's forehead. "You don't have a fever?" "No, Shu already said it. I'm just sighing, just in case." Yushu was back to her usual cheerful self. "Shu's just saying in case. So even if we're looking for someone, we'll have to find a sister that Yao Yao can get along with." If Shu dies, there'll be no one to help Yao Yao. Sister Xinyan is a good person and she's very kind. She can't bully Yao Yao. And she'll definitely give the main wife to Yao Yao. Mingyao blushed after hearing Yushu's words. She didn't know what to do. "Shu, what are you talking about? What are you trying to say?" "It's nothing. I think we should make a plan for Shield Bro to chase after a beauty. Let Shield Bro get Xinyan sis smoothly. What do you think?" Yushu said. Plan for chasing after a beauty? Meng Yao blinked. She looked at Shu for a long time, making sure that she wasn't talking nonsense. You're saying that we should help Lin Yi? Yeah, only Lin Yi and Xingyan sis can get together. Otherwise I'll be worried. Yushu blinked. Otherwise I'll be worried. Yushu didn't make it clear what she was worried about. Was it Meng Yao or Lin Yi? Then, what do you want to do? Meng Yao asked after some hesitation. She was quite supportive of Yushu's suggestion. She wouldn't have invited Xingyan to her house if she didn't like her. The kidnapping incident had put the plan on hold, but that didn't stop Meng Yao from wanting Xingyan to be Lin Yi's main wife. Let's go upstairs and think about it. We need to come up with a detailed plan, Yushu said as she pulled Meng Yao upstairs. Xingyan left Lin Yi's villa and hailed a taxi to go back to school. Chen Tian, on the other hand, watched her enter the dorms from afar before leaving with Old Pai and the others. Xingyan's heart was a mess. She didn't think that Lin Yi would confess to her at a time like this. She wasn't ready yet, or more accurately, she hadn't taken care of her own business yet. Would he be unhappy if she rejected him? Xingyan suddenly wondered if it would hurt Lin Yi if she ran away just like that. Should she give him a call and explain things to him? Should she tell him about her troubles? She had a fiancé, and the engagement hadn't been cancelled yet? Lin Yi should have known about this, but he was confessing to her anymore. Was he trying to embarrass her? Xingyan was a good kid, and she'd always been obedient since she was young. She wasn't too willing when it came to marriage, but with her family's interference, she'd reluctantly agreed. After all, she didn't have anyone she liked. Xiaolong looked like a nice guy on the surface. He was a doctor, and House Kong was a medical family. But when she saw how Xiaolong fawned over Wu Chintian during their meal in Yanjing, Xingyan felt that Xiaolong wasn't as nice as the rumors made him out to be. He was a bit of a hypocrite, and she didn't have a good impression of him. She didn't say much because of her family, but it was different now. Xingyan had someone she liked, and she didn't want to be tied down by fate. She didn't want to marry Xiaolong anymore. This was the first time in her life that Xingyan felt rebellious. She wanted to overturn her family's decision. She even had the urge to call her parents the moment she got back to the dorms and cancel the engagement with House Kong. Chapter 2385. Yes, she liked Lin Yi. She'd had feelings for Lin Yi before, but she didn't dare face them, didn't dare admit it. She'd lied to herself and told herself that they were just good friends. Until today, when Lin Yi confessed to her. She'd walked out of that self-deception completely. Yes, were she and Lin Yi still good friends? What kind of friends would hug each other all the time? What kind of friends would meet each other? What kind of friends would have their hearts beat faster when they were together? What kind of friends would have their hearts beat faster when they were alone together? No, of course not. Xingyan took in a deep breath. She felt like she had to do something. Xingyan returned to the girls' dorm, and a lot of people looked at her strangely. After all, the scene of her leaving the room in a bedsheet was too shocking. And now that she was back in a new set of clothes, there were still a lot of people who were curious. What was Xingyan doing? But Xingyan, naturally, didn't have the time to care about other people's thoughts. She quickly went back to her room and closed the door. Xingyan, what were you doing just now? Why the rush? Xiaoling asked curiously when she saw Xingyan. If I didn't know Yushu and Meng Yao, I would have thought that you were kidnapped again. It's nothing. Xingyan shook her head. They're just joking. Joking? Xiaoling didn't believe it, but Xingyan didn't want to talk about it. She didn't ask anymore. Zhao Xingji and Bai Weitua asked me and Mei Wei out for dinner. Do you want to go? I'm not going, you guys go. When you come back, just bring me a lunch box from the cafeteria. Xingyan clearly wasn't in the mood to eat. Plus, Xiaoling and he Mei Wei were a couple. Why would she go? Alright, I'll be going then. Xiaoling nodded and left the room. Xingyan, on the other hand, hesitated for a moment before gritting her teeth and dialing her mother's number. Xingyan, are you feeling better? Xiao Qinlin quickly picked up the phone. Xiao Qinlin was afraid that Xingyan would be in a bad mood after being kidnapped, so she didn't ask about her daughter's boyfriend at school. Now that Xingyan had taken the initiative to call, Xiao Qinlin naturally wanted to have a good talk with her. Her brother had called again, saying that House Kang's Kong Xiaolong was going back to Donghai Industry University to write his doctoral thesis. He wanted Xingyan to get along well with him. Xiao Qinlin didn't think it was appropriate to interfere with her daughter's freedom of love, but the Xiao family was on the verge of collapse, and this was something they had agreed to before. So Xiao Qinlin could only bite the bullet and agree to it first. Mom, Xingyan had already planned to tell her mother that she didn't want to marry Xiaolong, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. Xingyan rarely disobeyed her parents. This time she really didn't know what to say. What's wrong, Xingyan? What kind of trouble are you in? Xingyan asked. Xiao Qinlin's heart skipped a beat as she hurriedly asked. Mom, I don't want to marry House Kang's Kong Xiaolong. I want to break off the engagement. Xingyan finally mustered up the courage to say this from the bottom of her heart. She didn't want to be a good girl anymore. She wanted to rebel for once. What? Qinlin froze. She didn't think that her daughter would be the first to tell her the truth. She was waiting for her daughter to be in a good mood before telling her daughter about her relationship with Xiaolong. She heard that Xiaolong was a good guy, and he was also a doctor. It wouldn't be a shame for Xingyan to marry him. But she didn't think that Xingyan would want to break off the engagement. Mom, I'm at school. I have a boyfriend. Xingyan bit her lips and said firmly, I like him. I want to be with him. I don't want to marry Kong Mingming. I don't want to be manipulated by the family. I want to be a bargaining chip for the Xiao family to marry into the rich and powerful. Xingyan. Qinlin's heart softened. She didn't think that her daughter would be this determined. Last time in Yanjing, her daughter didn't like Xiaolong and didn't want the marriage, but she still agreed to look around first. But this time, Qinlin could feel her daughter's determination. In the past, although her daughter wasn't willing, she didn't put up such a strong resistance. This time, although her daughter didn't make a fuss, her tone was incomparably firm. So Xiao Qinlin really didn't know what to say. Especially when she thought of her brother Xiao Ji's phone call. Xiao Qinlin felt helpless. Mom, I'm not being impulsive. I'm very sure that I like him. Xingyan continued. Yinyan sigh. Xiao Qinlin sighed and said, Actually, I called you this time to talk about the Kong family's engagement. But you said these things first, so I can't say anything more. Mom, what's wrong? Did the Kangs say anything? Xingyan asked, startled. Just now, your uncle called me and told me about the Kong family's engagement. Qinlin didn't hide anything. Your uncle said that House Kang's Xiaolong is going back to Donghai Industry University to write his doctoral thesis. He wants you two to spend some time together. What? He's here? Xingyan paused, not expecting Xiaolong to be here. She knew that Xiaolong was a student at Donghai Industry University, but Xiaolong was a PhD student, so he didn't have to stay in school all day. He almost never came to school, and Xingyan didn't have much interaction with him. She didn't expect him to come back at this time. Xingyan, I understand what you mean. I'll explain it to your uncle. I hope he can cancel the engagement. Qinlin sighed. Ever since you were kidnapped, your dad and I have become less concerned about business. Nothing is more important than you. Your dad and I were even thinking of selling the company to the kidnappers for ransom. So we think that we can give up on these worldly possessions. As long as you're happy, that's enough. The Xiao family and House Kong won't be able to threaten us anymore. Thank you, Mom. Xingyan sniffled. She didn't expect her mother to say something like that. Xingyan wasn't stupid. She could guess the consequences of canceling the engagement. Her father's company might be attacked by both House Kong and Xiao family. But then she thought of Lin Yi, and her heart was filled with hope. Mom, Lin Yi, he's my boyfriend, and he has a lot of connections in Donghai. He knows people from the Hidden House Pie. They're working under Lin Yi right now. Rejecting House Kong won't affect your business. Chapter 2386. What? The hidden house pie works for Lin Yi. Qinlin wasn't a stranger to Lin Yi's name. Ling Shan and Ming Yao had both mentioned him back in the police station. But she never would have thought that the hidden house pie worked for Lin Yi. Wasn't the hidden house pie the support of the Xiao family? How did they become Lin Yi's men? With that, Wang Xinyan's marriage would be settled, wouldn't it? Qinlin let out a breath of relief at the thought. Back then, I was saved by the hidden house pie's elder pie. But I didn't tell you or Dad because I wanted to keep it a secret. Xinyan couldn't hide it anymore. She needed to take out some chips for her own happiness. Is that so? I see. Xiao Qinlin sighed and said. Okay, I'll call your uncle now and tell him about the situation. Okay, thank you, Mom. Xinyan knew that things were going to work out, and she was happy. But Qinlin's prediction seemed to be a bit off. After she told Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben about it, they were shocked for a moment, but Xiao Ben didn't give a clear answer. He only said that he needed to discuss it with his brother first before making a decision. This surprised Qinlin, but she didn't say anything. She waited quietly for her brother's reply. After hanging up, Xiao Ben's eyebrows furrowed. Xiao Ji, on the other hand, was an impatient man. Brother, if Lin Yi is the hidden house pie's boss, then he's our backer's backer. There's no harm in getting on good terms with him. Why don't you agree to cancel the marriage? Cancel the marriage? You want our Xiao family to be Lin Yi's lackeys? Xiao Ji, I think you're crazy. Did you forget that Lin Yi is our Xiao family's #1 enemy? You're an idiot. Go Huli screamed before Xiao Ben could say anything. She didn't want the Xiao family to give in to Lin Yi. Hadn't she lost enough face in front of Lin Yi? One had to admit that this woman was quite vengeful, especially a woman like Go Huli. Once you started to hate someone, it would be to the point of making your hair stand on end. Pa! Xiao Ji heard Huli scream and gave her a big slap. What are you yelling for, you useless bitch? Who are you to make decisions for the Xiao family? You hit me? Xiao Ji, I'm doing this for the good of the Xiao family. How dare you hit me? Go Huli held her swollen face and cried. Damn it. If you call me that again, I'll hit you again, Xiao Ji said angrily. Big brother, don't be angry. Xiao Ben waved his hand to stop Xiao Ji's violence. Sister-in-law isn't wrong. Don't be agitated. She's right. Xiao family won't get any benefits if we give in to Lin Yi. Oh, Xiao Ji paused. If Xinyan marries Lin Yi, wouldn't our Xiao family depend on Lin Yi? Even the hidden house pie depends on Lin Yi. This means that Lin Yi has a lot of potential. This is good for the development of our Xiao family. Big brother, you're too naive. Xiao Ben said. You're right, but have you thought about it? How big is the hatred between our Xiao family and Lin Yi? From the beginning, our Xiao family has always been against Lin Yi. We've hit him when he's down. It's already at an irreconcilable stage. Xiao Ji hesitated. Then if we marry Xinyan to Lin Yi, wouldn't we become relatives with Lin Yi? Relatives? Xiao Ben laughed coldly. You treat Lin Yi as a relative, but will he treat you as one? We've heard about what happened in the hidden house Tang from the hidden house Yu. Did Lin Yi give face to Tang Yan's father? Did he give face to her grandfather? He's her biological father. What are we? We're not even close to him. Xiao Ji thought about it. His brother was right, but he still hoped for luck. Didn't Wu Qintian and the hidden house pie have conflicts with Lin Yi before? Didn't you get Lin Yi's trust now? I don't know if the hidden house pie is on Lin Yi's side or not, but it doesn't matter. Wu Qintian too, did he have a direct conflict with Lin Yi? Did it cause any serious consequences? Xiao Ben waved his hand and said, No. Qintian and House Pie actually didn't have much of a conflict with Lin Yi. It was just that they didn't get along. But there is no way our Xiao family would draw their swords against each other. For example, Zhao Qibing of the hidden house Zhao, Xie Yufeng of the common house Yu. These people had a grudge with Lin Yi. Do you think there's any way to resolve it? The common house Yu was destroyed by Lin Yi, and the hidden house Zhao Qibing almost lost his life a couple of times. Do you think Lin Yi would let us, who aren't good relatives of Wang Xinyan, live with us? Xiao Ji didn't have much of a brain, but after Xiao Ben's analysis, he felt that it was possible. After all, The Xiao family and Lin Yi had a huge grudge. When Lin Yi was injured, the Xiao family had jumped out to add insult to injury. Would Lin Yi let them go so easily? Then, can't we ask the hidden house pie for mercy? Xiao Ji said after some hesitation. Ask for mercy? Do you think the hidden house pie would care about us after joining Lin Yi? Even Wu Qintian wouldn't care about us after joining Lin Yi, let alone the high and mighty hidden house pie. Do you think the hidden house pie would care about us? Xiao Ben shook his head. We're just a money-making tool for the hidden house pie. Now that the hidden house pie has joined Lin Yi's side, and Wu Qintian is Lin Yi's follower, the hidden house pie and Lin Yi would be doing business with Wu Qintian. Would they even consider us? That's true. Xiao Ji nodded. Even if we let Wang Xingyan follow Lin Yi, we wouldn't be able to get on Lin Yi's good side. Lin Yi would still ignore us, and the Xiao family's position would still be in danger. But if we force Lin Yi to marry Xiaolong, wouldn't we be going against Lin Yi? Wouldn't Lin Yi destroy us in a fit of rage? If he wanted to, he would have done it a long time ago. The reason why he hasn't is probably because we're Wang Xingyan's uncle's son. So we don't have to be afraid of anything, Xiao Ben said. At that time, when the hidden Tang family broke off with Lin Yi and Tang Yin, I didn't see Lin Yi do anything. Xiao Ben was right. Lin Yi didn't do anything to the hidden house pie. But it wasn't because he didn't want to, but because he wasn't their opponent. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.